bespoke radio for the masses.
Headline edition, July 8, 1947. The Army Air Forces has announced that a flying disc has been found and is now in the possession of the Army.
If the game is rigged, change the game. Game changer.
I occasionally think how quickly our differences worldwide would vanish if we were facing an alien threat from outside this world.
This is Fade to Black with your host, Jimmy Church, on the Game Changer Radio Network and KGRA, the Global Radio Alliance.
I need your help to get to the year 1985.
You're listening to Fade to Black with Jimmy Church on the Game Changer Network.
Welcome, Fade to Black, bespoke radio for the masses. Yeah, man. Today's Wednesday, October 25th, 298 days into the new year, just 67 days left. We are live from a bunker somewhere in downtown Burbank, California, and I would like to welcome everybody listening all around the world, all across the United States, hither and thither, to and fro, back and forth, up and down, east and west, north and south, far and near. This is Fade to Black for KJCR, the Game Changer Network, and KGRA, the planet. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. What is cracking, everybody? How you doing? Yeah, man. Tonight, very special guest with us, Micheila Sheldan is here, who is primarily a clairaudient as well as a clairvoyant and able to relay detailed angelic teachings about the soul's path and purpose that uplift and improve the quality of life. That is our show tonight. Are you ready for this? Wow. So buckle up, kiddies. Now, tomorrow is our 4th annual Halloween special with Shah the Loon Witch. Now, we're going to bust through a couple of hundred phone calls tomorrow night, so you're just going to have to get in line, get ready, call often, and just get through, okay? It's going to be fun tomorrow night. Cannot believe it. Shah the Loon Witch is back with us. Call numbers 323-825-5045 or 323-275-9695. All right, follow us on Twitter at JChurchRadio. At JChurchRadio. That's what you want to do. Facebook, YouTube, everything is right there. Just go over to jimmychurchradio.com. Our exciting website. It's right there. All of the information that you need is there. Okay, so you can follow, like, and subscribe, everything. So go and take care of business. Get that done. If you want to hang out with us on Twitter, the sandbox is hashtag F2B. We have 2 chat rooms. We have Spreaker. We have KGRA, the planet. So all of that is laid out there in front of you. You know, Twitter keeps talking about, we're going to go over 140 characters, man. We're going to do this. We're going to kick it up to 280. You'll be able to do what you want. If you want to type a book, you can get it in there. It's going to happen. We're still waiting for that part. So if 140 characters is not your style, we have chat rooms, right? And everything is up and live. See, watch this right in the chat room. Good evening. Bam. There you go. Chat rooms live. Okay? All right, let's go. Let's get this show cracking. I am so excited. Micheila is here. She's going to be with us at the bottom of the hour. I've got a bunch of stuff that I've got to get out of the way. We have to make some announcements here. Okay? So you can email throughout the show. That's Jimmy at jimmychurchradio.com. Easy enough. But the breaking news that I've got to get out of the way tonight is Game 2 of the World Series kicking off here in Los Angeles, California, right down the street from the bunker, actually. And it's the Dodgers and the Astros. The Dodgers. Yeah, Vin Scully tried to throw out the first pitch today. One day, if Rita will allow me, I'll tell a bunch of Vin Scully stories. I've got a ton of those. But there you go. So it's all tied up. Bottom of the 6th. Dodgers are up. And there you go. Okay, so it's all tied up 1-1. Dodgers, of course, won last night. They lead the series 1-0. And with that, I'll keep everybody updated. The game is on to my left. And it's weird because when you have that kind of flat screen off to your left, mounted to the wall, like I do here in the bunker, it's glowing. The bunker's normally dark. And this thing is just distracting, man. I just want to kick back and watch the game. But I'll keep you updated throughout the show tonight. Okay? And with that, tomorrow is the big release of the classified documents about the assassination of President John F. Kennedy. And it's the deadline that Congress set for making the files public. Okay? This isn't a Donald Trump thing or somebody else or, I'm allowing this to happen. Okay, so there you go. All right, so that's going to occur tomorrow. If there's anything groundbreaking in these files, we'll have John Rappaport on the show tomorrow night, to break in and make some announcements on that. I'm not so sure there's going to be anything too groundbreaking. I don't even know why they've, held them back for this long. So, but that's it. Tomorrow's the big day. Also, I've been announcing this over the last week or so. Unity workshops. Okay, so UniWiki, part of our Game Changer community here. The uniwiki.org project is our community. It is huge. The project itself is all encompassing and its scope is humongous. Okay, so you've got to get over to uniwiki.org, sign up, check it out, explore, and see how great this community actually is and how it's growing. It's just huge. This project is going to be something that you are going to be talking about 10 years from now. I was there, man. I was there with John and Dana and Rita and Jimmy when this thing launched and they put this thing together and John and Dana and Modern Masters and, because it is growing. It's already big. But I want you to become a part of it, okay? So their Unity podcast, and there's some podcast announcements that I'm going to do in just a second. They are looking for video or audio testimonials right now for portals. Okay, that's the first podcast project that's coming out. They also need producers and writers. I want to say, listen to me, we could do all of this ourselves. That's not the point of the Unity Project. This is a community project. We want you to be the producers. We want you to be the writers. We want you to be the contributors. Okay, we can do it all ourselves. That's not the point. Okay, so get over. It's simple. Now there's a new website, theunityproject.org. You can contact John at modernmasters.org and contact Rita at jimmychurchradio.com. All simple to do. Okay, so help us. Now, also, another big announcement is Contact in the Desert 2018. It was announced yesterday that it is moving from Joshua Tree, from the retreat center. It's moving down the street into Palm Springs. It's going to be held at the Renaissance Hotel. Okay, now this is a resort. It is a complex. So now, yes, it is going to be a bigger event this year. There's going to be a lot more people attending, but it's indoors. Now, we have the same large facilities. We have an auditorium that holds 2,500 people. So the outdoor amphitheater, which held 2,500, we've got that over at the Renaissance Resort. We have multiple rooms. It's just going to be all air conditioned. We have a nice lounge and restaurants and all the water you can drink. Everything is there. Outdoors, there's everything that you would want. So full-on evening activities, fire pits, man, everything. So we're going to be doing night vision. There's going to be some other stuff I can't announce yet. Yes, I'm in the middle of it. So is Rita. We know about some of these exciting things that are about to get announced. Some of the speakers are going to blow your mind. You're not going to believe what is going on this year at Contact in the Desert. So get in, get early, get your tickets. Right now, here we go. I'm retweeting this now. Thank you. That's Mark Tarana. Thank you, my friend, for getting that up there. there's the new venue. Go and check it out. Go look at the rooms, look at the facilities, look at everything. They've got a spa. So for all of you women out there, you know, when you go to Palm Springs, you want the spa action. And, I doubt I'm going to see Rita Where's Rita? She's at the spa. Again? 3 days in a row? Yes, she is in the spa. So there you go. The Renaissance Hotel right there in Indian Wells and Palm Springs. Okay. Also, handicapped accessibility, which was a big deal, the lacking of that over there. But again, no more, dirt. Joshua Tree is a magical place. There's a reason why this is called Contact in the Desert. Palm Springs is in the middle of the desert, and it's beautiful. You're going to have a great time. Okay. Now, next week, here we go. Another big announcement here. Little drum roll. Another big announcement, because next week we are going to announce our big talent search contest. We are looking for the next podcasting star. Yes, we are. And the winner will get a complete podcast studio package. Complete. Courtesy of Tascam. Now, we have all of the studio stuff worked out. That part is easy. The prize is easy. Right now, we have to finish up the rules and get all of that and get it up on the website. But we are announcing this next week, and we are looking for that next star. We are looking for the next big talent, seriously. And I know all of you out there have your ideas that if you could do a show, right? And so this is your chance. Now, it's a contest. This is not a giveaway. We want your talent. Okay, so we are going to figure it out, and we are going to find you. Okay? Now, just get ready for that. And I think one of the things, seriously, that I want to do, the winner of the podcast, we are going to air their podcast, the first episode, right here on our network. So we will do everything for you. We will make you a star. Okay? All right. Now, you can't already be doing a podcast. That doesn't work. No, nothing like that. We want somebody out there that has not done it before, that wants to do it. Maybe you don't have the studio. You don't have the equipment. There's things that are holding you back from doing it. You need to be pushed over the edge. You need that thing. We're going to take care of all of that. We just need your talent, and we're going to find you, and we're going to make you a star. Okay, so we're going to announce that next week. Get ready. Man, we're going to do our own star search. I've always wanted to be Ed McMahon. What was that show? Was that Star Search? Was that Star Search, Ed McMahon? Somebody posted a picture of Ed McMahon. I forget that show. It was a great show. Okay. All right. Where am I at? Don't forget to subscribe to our podcast. Aaron, sadly, I most likely won't be able to go to Contact in the Desert because you're going to be in school. You know what, Aaron? Sorry about that. But we'll be periscoping, okay? So you can hang out with us, virtually. Sorry about that, Aaron. Oh, man, that's a drag. Skip school. He's in college. Skip college. Don't forget to subscribe to our podcast. We have over 740 archive shows right there. Custom apps, Apple, Android, just $2 a month. Click on the banner over on our website. You can also become a Fadernaut. You can do that also over on our website. Go to the membership section. You'll get everything that you need. All of the instructions are there. You don't even, you can become a Fadernaut for free. Or you can get commercial-free downloads. You can get all the Fade to Black gear. You can get all of that. Okay? By the way, have you gotten your Fade to Black gear over the last couple of weeks? I want to see pictures. I want to see the hats. I want to see the shirts. I want to see your little get-up. I want to see everything. Okay? Send me the pictures. I love posting them. I'm a little bit behind on the posting, too. I've got a little folder full of a bunch. I'll get back to that. Maybe I'll do some stuff tomorrow. But I love posting your pictures. Send them to us. It was called Star Search, wasn't it? There's Ed McMahon right there. Well, we're going to do our own. Man, they'll probably sue us. So we can't call it Star Search. Do we call it Podstar Search. Podstar Search. Star Pod Search. Finals week is around that time, Jimmy. Oh, that's a drag. Can't you do your finals remotely from Palm Springs? Your teachers would accept that, right? I'll sign it. I'll sign you a hall pass. All right. Where am I at? Don't forget to check out all of our sponsors: Life Change Tea, GetTheTea.com, River Moon Coffee, New Pharma, Ancient Life Oil, Sacred Skulls, New Mana, and Bearing Optics. Also, coming up is the Conscious Life Expo in February, which is October, November, December, January, February. So it's 3 months away. And a little sneak announcement here. River Moon Coffee is going to be at Conscious Life Expo. New Pharma. So we're going to have Juanita and Jeff, River Moon Coffee, Chip Paul from New Pharma. I'm just going to say this. I'm going to put him on the hot seat right now. Looks like Ronnie McMullen's going to be there with Life Change Tea. So all of our sponsors, or most of them, are going to be at Conscious Life Expo, hanging out with all of you Fadernauts. Don't you want to do that too? Right now, just go and check out everything. We'll have the tickets and info up for the Conscious Life Expo. Great lineup this year. Very exciting things happening. And we've got all of the details worked out. And over the next week or so, we'll start to roll out everything that is going on at Conscious Life Expo 2018 and get your tickets. That'll be at the LAX Hilton at right here in Los Angeles at LAX Airport. And again, one of the biggest events of the year. We only do a few events every year. Last year and the year before, we did like 6 or 8 events. We learned our lesson. We need to pull that thing back, man. We need to pull it way back and just be very select. It's exhausting. And we do this show 4 nights a week, plus coast to coast, and plus TV and tapings and everything else. That squeezing in 3 or 4 days once a month to go out and do these things, it's crazy. It really wore us out. But the first big conference of the year is the Conscious Life Expo. All right, let's get the show cracking. Happy birthday to today. Chili Peppers Stickman Chad Smith is 56 years old. Craig Robinson, somebody who I really love. I think he's really funny. Today, he's 46. He's got a new series out. It's called Ghosted. And if you haven't seen it, I think it's on Fox. It's pretty funny. Rita and I have checked out the first few episodes. Good stuff going on there. He was really good in Pineapple Express. Also today, Adam Goldberg is 47. And he's great. I like Adam, but his best movie was like his first, or one of his first. He killed it in Dazed and Confused. He was just absolutely amazing. Happy birthday today. Adam Goldberg is 47. And it's kind of funny. Dazed and Confused came out 20 years ago. He's 47. That means what he was like, what how old was he? So that's about right? If you think about it, 25 years ago, whenever that movie came out. Today he's 47. Our dead guy's birthday today, Pablo Picasso, died at the age of 92 in 1973. Of course, one of the 20th century's great artist. He co-founded the Cubist movement, co-invented, constructed sculpture and collage, plastic. That was Pablo Picasso. And 1881 to 1973, cranked it out for 92 years. Happy birthday, Pablo. On this day in history, OTD, I have to do this, 1983. United States invades Grenada. That was a Ronald Reagan thing. Had to do it, actually. We had a tiny little island with 1,000 Americans all going to med school. And the communists went in there, the Marxists, and overthrew the government. We sent in the Marines and turned that thing right around pretty quickly. All right, Fader fact. Winston Churchill believed in aliens. Seriously, he really did. And that's all I'm going to say. He did an essay that wasn't published. It was published last year. I read through the whole thing. Dude was fully engaged in the concept of aliens, alien life, what it would take, planets, temperatures, He goes, you know what? There's alien life, but they live between the freezing of water and the boiling point of water. Pretty smart, huh? Think about that for a second. Winston Churchill believed in E.T. All right, tonight, very special guest, Micheila Sheldan. She'll be here in a few short minutes. And before we get to her, I have to talk about a couple of points here that are very important. So indulge me for a second. I don't like this fear porn that is going around the world about North Korea. It's heating up. Nobody is playing around with it, not the media, not Trump, our allies. There is some darkness that is being spoken about, and you're hoping that it's just rhetoric. Let's just hope that it's just, puffy chests, right? Okay. A senior North Korean official has issued another stern warning to the world that we should take literally, and I'm putting in quotes here, these are his words, his country's threat to test a nuclear weapon above ground, specifically over the Pacific Ocean. The official, his name is Ri Yong Pil. I'm gonna come up with a really good nickname for this doofus. Ri Yong Pil said that the threat made by North Korea's foreign minister last month should not be dismissed, that North Korea has always brought its words into action, end quote. Speaking on a visit to New York for the United Nations General Assembly last month, Ri Hong Yo, not Ri Yong Pil, but Ri Yong Ho. He's a ho. The foreign minister raised the possibility that North Korea could test a powerful hydrogen bomb over the Pacific Ocean. The threat came hours after President Donald Trump threatened to totally destroy North Korea in a speech to the UN. Now, I'm quoting here. This is Ri. He says, the foreign minister is very well aware of the intentions of our supreme leader, so I think you should take his words literally. Now, Ri also implied that the diplomatic channels between the United States and North Korea were non-existent, despite what U.S. Secretary of State Rex Tillerson keeps talking about over the last few months, saying that they're open, right? Okay, now, meanwhile, and this is where it gets a bit nuts. Meanwhile, and this just slid under the radar, so I'm here to let you know what's actually going on. 2 U.S. aircraft carriers, along with all of their escort ships, have now joined the United States Navy in the Pacific off the coast of North Korea. And this is ahead of, the POTUS, President Donald Trump's visit to East Asia, amid these crazy soaring tensions that are going on over there. The announcements on the USS Theodore Roosevelt and the USS Nimitz aircraft carriers, alongside their carrier battle groups, right, are joining the U.S. 7th Fleet. This announcement came this morning. Within hours of each other, they have now formed this massive armada. The carriers will join the USS Ronald Reagan Strike Group, which is already operating there off the Korean Peninsula. Now, this is where it gets a little bit nuts. The new deployments came as the U.S. and its regional allies, including Japan and South Korea, were conducting joint large-scale naval drills. And this is they're trying to strengthen their ballistic missile defenses. Now, we have had an ongoing military exercises off the Korean Peninsula now since January. They have not stopped. Normally, it's once a year, lasts for a couple of weeks, lasts for a week, and we go out there and do our thing, and then everybody goes home. We have had a non-stop practice session out there since January. The U.S. Navy, listen to me and listen to me clearly. The U.S. Navy has 10 aircraft carriers in the world. 10. So, 1/3 of our carrier fleet is currently off the coast of North Korea. Each carrier strike group is composed of which there are three. Each one is composed of roughly 7,500 personnel an aircraft carrier, at least one guided missile cruiser, a destroyer squadron of at least 2 guided missile destroyers and their frigates, a carrier air wing of 65 to 70 aircraft, submarines, attached logistics ships, and a supply ship. And there are 3 of these sitting in the water right now off the coast of North Korea, combined with Japan and the South Korean navies. Now, that's a whole lot of power, man. For what? You know, I don't want to be a fearmonger. I really, really, really don't. Last week, they were talking about putting our B-52 fleet on 24-hour ready alert status. This is crazy stuff going on. I don't want any of it to happen. And before the combined 3 carrier strike battle groups now all together at the same place at the same time, you need to think about what is sitting out there. If you look, imagine what you're talking about. You know, close to 75 ships, guided missile cruisers, destroyers, submarines. You know, and if you think about this, that is right around over 200 fighter aircraft. 200. That doesn't count what we have over on Guam. And this is ready to go. This is armed and ready situation. I have to tell you, if something goes on, if they test, right? They test a hydrogen weapon over the Pacific Ocean with our Navy sitting underneath it. What do you think? What do you think is going to happen? What do you think is going to happen? Think about that for a second. It is crazy. I don't want to see anything go down. But when you're looking at this kind of preparation and this kind of readiness, it just makes you wonder. And I don't want to see it happen. I just don't. This is Fade to Black. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. I'm going to get out of here. Let's change the mood around this place right now. I'm going to bring in Micheila Sheldan. She'll be here right now. This is Fade to Black. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. Truly bespoke radio for the masses. Follow me on Twitter at JChurchRadio. Simple. Email is jimmy@jimmychurchradio.com. The sandbox on Twitter is hashtag F2B. I'll be right back.
You're listening to Jimmy Church, Fade to Black.
Fade to Black will now pause for alien identification.
The station that talks the net. KGRA Radio. When you take the beans from Central America with dashes of Indonesian and African mixed in and then roast it to the dark side of Fade to Black, you create the ultimate brew of fringe. Introducing the Fade to Black blend from Rivermoon Coffee. Yes, Rivermoon's darkest customized roast was created for the love of Fade to Black. The alchemy of masterful roasting and smoking the beans is in every sip of this full-bodied dark Java. I need my coffee dark, deep, with distinct bittersweet chocolate highlights, just like the bunker. Leaning further into the darkness of the roast is Fade to Black blend from Rivermoon Coffee. Just click on the banner at jimmychurchradio.com and use the promo code F2BBLEND for 15% off of your order today. Go Beckley Teppy.
So are you tired of being tired? Well, then it's time to get the tea. Hey, it's Lisa here to tell you about this all-natural, all-organic tea I've been drinking that has had great results for over 20 years. It's called Life Change Tea, and it's specially formulated to help detoxify and cleanse your kidneys, liver, colon, and blood all at once. The colon is one of the most ignored organs in the human body. The faster that waste is eliminated from the body, the less time that waste sits in our intestines, spreading toxins to our bloodstream. This tea helps cleanse chemicals caused by outside intruders from our entire digestive system. And get this, weight loss can be a side effect. And with continued use of the tea, you can experience clearer, healthier, younger looking skin, increased energy, and a happier outlook on life. So if you're tired of being tired, get the Life Change Tea at getthetea.com. That's getthetea.com. And like me, you'll be glad you did.
9 out of 10 geneticists agree.
Fade to Black is not your father's radio show on the Game Changer Radio Network and KGRA, the planet.
Win big with KGRA this summer. Tickets and hotel accommodations to the biggest conferences, autographed books and DVDs, chances to win all-inclusive conference cruises, and private dinners with your favorite KGRA hosts. Click the contest tab at kgraradio.com for your chance to win big this summer. Your contact for the best alternative talk radio on the planet. kgraradio.com.
Hi, this is Rob Reiner from Anvil, and you're listening to JimmyChurchRadio.com.
What's up? I'm Chris. What up? This is Kyle Massey, and you're listening to Jimmy Church Radio.
All right, welcome back. Fade to Black. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. Tonight, our guest, Micheila Sheldan. Now, before we get to that, for those of you that care, in the World Series, Corey Seager just popped a 2-run homer at the bottom of the 6th to put L.A. ahead 3-1. It is now bottom of the 7th. Dodgers are up 3-1. The Dodgers are up 3-1. Okay. Oh, here we go. Very excited. Micheila Sheldan is an intuitive channel who has the ability to connect with a variety of guides, interdimensional beings, and collectives, including Mary Magdalene, Archangels, Jeremiah, the Ancients, the 9th Dimensional Lemurian and Pleiadian collectives, Arcturians, the Council of Light, and many others. She channels our history, structure, ascension, and transition into a 5th dimensional consciousness. She is the executive director of the Flower of Life Center for Human Evolution, a volunteer organization focused on raising the consciousness of our planet. In this position, she works with volunteers on a variety of projects ranging from conscious action initiatives and youth programs to the organization's International Expo and magazine. And her website, which is over at jimmychurchradio.com, you can just click right there, is MicheilaSheldan.com. And I would like to welcome to the first time to Fade to Black, Micheila Sheldan. Micheila, welcome.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here.
Well, you know what's going to happen now. You get the first-time guest disclaimer. So you ready for that?
Oh, there's a disclaimer. Okay,
there's always a first-time guest disclaimer. Next time you're on, you're not going to get it. But the disclaimer is this. It's just you and I sitting on my couch having a conversation as friends. Where the conversation starts, it starts. Where it ends, it ends. But we're going to end as friends. You ready to go?
I'm ready. Bring it on.
All right. Are you watching the World Series?
No, I am not a sports fan.
So you don't even know that this is going on, right?
No clue. No clue.
It's funny. It is just so fun. Whenever I mention sports, I used to be a sportscaster. And as soon as I do that, Twitter just lights up. Dude, no sports. No sports. So, I just don't. I let that part of my life go. And, I used to, Micheila, this is no joke. I had to read stats and scores and trades and everything that goes on in the sports world every single day. and it's all consuming, as you can imagine, right? I've let it go. And it's just like, oh, man, I don't know what's going on. I don't know anything about sports anymore. It took like 5 years. I am so disconnected. But apparently the World Series is going on right down the street right now from where we broadcast from, and I don't have a clue. So,
wow.
Yeah. So,
well, the planet is shifting, and you are too, sounds like, Jimmy.
Well, totally, it is great to grow. And to expand. And you're absolutely right. I have truly experienced that. And so now we have that in common, right? No sports in our lives. We have
that's how it works.
We have a lot of synchronicities between the two of us. And I really found that interesting with our conversation earlier. And we'll talk about a lot of that in the next few minutes. But you're in Detroit. You're a native. You born and raised, and you're still there.
I am, absolutely. Born and raised here in a small middle-class town, Warren, Michigan, just out east side of Detroit. Yeah, and I'm still here. I love it. I love Michigan.
Wait a minute. The east side of Detroit is Canada.
Well, not quite that far east.
But I guess, technically there is an east side of Detroit, right?
Yeah. Definitely.
And so you grew up there, which means one thing and one thing only, the automotive industry. It had to be part of your family, was it?
Oh, for sure. Yeah, my dad, blue collar, GM on the line. Yeah. Anybody in that neighborhood, you were either GM, Chrysler, Ford, and if you weren't, you were hiding your car real quickly.
Yeah, you know what's really funny? Tell me the truth. Nobody in your neighborhood had an imported car.
No, you couldn't.
You couldn't do that, could you? I used to, I drive around Detroit, and it may be different today in 2017, but 10 years ago, 20 years ago, 30 years ago, I drive around Detroit, and I would play a game with whoever I was riding with in the car, spot the Japanese car, right? You couldn't do it. You could not find an imported car in Detroit.
Right. Well, automotive, it's in the blood here. It's in the lineage. It's in the history. Families, generations have worked for these automotive industries for years. So it's a big deal. It's a big part of life.
Could you imagine if your dad, and you're going to school, right? And your dad drove a Toyota. That would be the roughest childhood. You come home just angry at your parents every single day because you just got it at school all day long. It's truly a way of life there. How has it changed, though? The automotive industry, we all know about Flint and some of the things that have been going on in Detroit. How has that changed?
Honestly, well, first I'll say the downtown area is really changed a lot. There's a lot of businesses now coming downtown, and that's really changed the vibe down there.
Right.
The automotive industry, obviously, it's picked up a little bit, but it's still, taking a hit. But at the same time, it's interesting that I'm here. You always question. I believe we're always in exactly the place that we were meant to be. I think we plan these things, but
right.
Big spiritual community, and conscious uprising here in the area. And I feel as if it has a lot to do with what's gone on here in the automotive industry because, people have gone through some rough times. And when you go through rough times, things have to change. You make transitions. So I've noticed that here.
I remember, and I was talking to Rita about a few times. But driving around Detroit, the last time I was there was probably around 2000. Okay, so it's been a while since I was there. But driving up and down some of the neighborhoods there where the riots occurred and the rebuilding never happened, right? You would still see burned out buildings that have been sitting there for 20 years and boarded up windows. Has that changed?
I think that's still the case, that there's some of that down there, but it has changed as well. Progression in that area is slow, but at the same time, there's been a lot of rebuild down there. And there's a lot of local efforts, people bringing in gardens and things like that downtown that we haven't seen here for, forever. So it's changing. It's a slow progression. Detroit's a big area, Well, there's a lot to change.
Well, I like your attitude about that when you're talking about the consciousness community. That it is strong, it is vibrant there because it is what is needed. You know what I mean? You have to focus on change. You have to remain positive and stay there. Don't run and do it for the community. But I can only imagine how strong and vibrant it is.
It truly is, and I see it all over. I mean, it's the shifts here. I know you're out in California. It's kind of a different world here in Detroit. But, even things like, for example, all of a sudden we're seeing this uprising of vegan restaurants or healthy restaurants in this area, which, here in Detroit, you don't see that. In California, I know you walk down the street and you've got all these great options, healthy foods. It shows the change in consciousness. I think people here they've gone through some rough times, not only with the automotive industry, but, health-wise, and things are turning around and opening up. And I think people would be surprised, to come down here and check out what's going on. There's a lot of good stuff.
Now, what were your parents like? Were they open-minded? Do they understand what you are doing today? Did they influence you growing up?
Not at all. I grew up, very mainstream, middle-class Catholic family. My dad being GM on the line, my mom was a nurse. Even today, they understand what I do from a conceptual standpoint, but, comprehension, they're not really in this conversation. So, no, they don't really get it.
No UFO sightings with them when you were growing up?
Yeah, no UFO sightings with them. Yeah.
And how do you see? This is the thing when you say, my dad GM on the line. That your dad's a hardcore. I mean, that is a masculine lifestyle, right? So yeah, I can't imagine him, sitting around the lunchroom table, during lunch, talking about UFO sightings and his daughter channeling. I just don't see that happening. But does he do that now?
Does he sit around? Well, first of all, he's retired, but
right.
I don't think he's sitting around having conversations about this. But what I will say is because of what I do, and I don't make any apologies for what I do, and I've come out with this within a family that's pretty conventional. I've seen some changes in them. So their minds are opening. They're having different conversations. They're just scratching the surface, of some of these topics. But would I say they're sitting around having these conversations over lunch? Probably not.
Right.
I'm initiating them a bit more than,
and
they're coming up, I think.
And there's another part of Detroit that can't be ignored, which is the creative element of there's consciousness, but the music industry, right? The artistic side of things. Some of the great music ever in the history of the known universe all came out of Detroit. So there was this vibrant, creative, artistic, musical side of Detroit. And is that still there?
Oh, for sure. You can see, that's all over the place here. And that's what I love about this city. The music, the vibe, the creative energy here. It's even in the youth. I feel like we have some incredibly talented youth here in Detroit. And I think it's just, it continues in the generations that left it behind here. So absolutely.
When did you, now let's go back to your youth a little bit. When did you start to recognize these talents?
Not till later in life. I was in my 40s.
So
40 years old. Yeah.
Really? So 4 or 5 years old, 6 years old, 10 years old, nothing going on there.
Well, what I will say is I didn't recognize what was going on. And I believe as a child, I had this gift and this connection, but I didn't fully grasp what it was because I didn't have anyone around me that was having this conversation. But I do recall, and, it really took me to get past this whole awakening process and bringing in this gift to remember that I used to have these conversations in my head.
Right.
And I recall having these two-way conversations going on all of the time. I was a very quiet child, almost classified as shy, even though I wasn't shy. I was always having something going on, conversation going on with someone. So no, I wasn't aware of it at that age as anything unique or different. But now looking back on it, definitely.
And I think all of us, so I'm curious about this. When I was 5 years old, I had these visions about me as an adult. They always involved a studio, a piece of glass, somebody on the other side of it. I didn't understand it. I certainly didn't see it on television, but I saw all of this. I wanted to be an astronaut. I wanted to be a pilot. I wanted to be an artist. I had other things. I had no clue what television and radio and what all of that was about. But looking back, I had those dreams constantly. Did you have those types of dreams about the future as an adult?
I don't recall having those dreams as a child, but what I'll say is I have two very gifted children myself, and I see these children coming to the planet, and I think that when we're born, we come in, we're telepathic. We have these gifts already as we enter the planet. It's just that we're coming into a society, right, that doesn't teach us how to use them. So they become dormant in us. They become shut down. I do that now all of the time. I have dreams where I astral travel and project into the future. I do this in meditation. But I believe we all do this a little bit differently because we're all unique. We're just bringing these gifts back again now that we had when we were, 5.
So you just said, and it stopped me in my tracks. I lost focus. It didn't start until your 40s.
Yeah.
Now I'm looking at your pictures. I have no idea. I didn't think you were in your 40s yet. And I don't mean that. What I'm trying to say here is, and now you just mentioned that you have 2 gifted children too as well. How long has this been going on?
I started waking up to this gift in 2009, 2010. And so I'll be 50 this year.
Okay.
So,
see, I indirectly got that out of you.
That's all right.
Pretty talented. I'm pretty talented. Thank you for that.
Back to the disclaimer.
Right. We will end as friends somehow. But okay, so this is really, really getting interesting. Because this is all for you, fresh, new, part of discovery. Up to that point, what were you doing in life? Your job, your thing. What were you doing before the awakening?
Yeah, well, I lived a pretty normal, conventional life. I went to college. I got a 4-year degree here in Michigan. I got my degree in journalism, PR, advertising. And out of college, I got a great job in Indianapolis working for an environmental company and ended up working my way up the ladder. Did marketing for this company, and they had offices throughout the Midwest. I traveled, loved this job, did really well, got married, settled down, and decided to have some children. I had my first child in 1998. Mm-hmm. And was not at all interested at staying at home, being that stay-at-home mom, because I was this career mom. I'm thinking I can do the diaper bag and the laptop bag at the same time, and ended up dropping all of that idea real quick when I had my first child, and walked in and quit my job. And decided to stay at home with her. And I'm the firstborn, Jimmy. I'm like that A-type personality. I like to be busy. I, got good grades. I worked real hard. So the staying at home life wasn't exactly easy for me. I had to throw my energy into something, and I got really involved in the volunteer world. So I ran all this stuff for my kids. I moved back to Michigan when I ended up having my second daughter. And I ran the PTA. I was the PTA vice president. I ran the Girl Scout organization for the local area, 2 Girl Scout troops. I was the social director of the neighborhood, social group. All of this stuff, right? I lived a very mainstream life.
Sounds like you were showing up at the PTA meetings with a tray of home-baked brownies, right?
Absolutely.
That was you.
That was me.
So how does one make that kind of transition? It must have been a pretty big deal in 2010. What happened?
Well, what happened to me was after the birth of my second daughter, I started to experience some chronic pain. And I was on this Western medicine, hamster wheel every year with my insurance card, going to doctors and specialists. And the pain was in my hip and my low back and my leg. And, I had all the tests and the MRIs and the CT scans. And every year I'd end up on medications, for pain and inflammation. And I was even on antidepressants. I had a doctor prescribe me antidepressants. And this went on for a good 5-6 years. And I wasn't getting any better. Every year I was getting worse. And it had gotten to the point where I was having my nerves severed every 6 months. I had so much numbness in my legs, pain in my legs, that I was afraid to drive my own kids. I had gotten real overweight, very unhealthy, was living this life that was not at all what I wanted. And I ended up, so right around this time that I'm going through all these processes, my family decided to make a move. So we lived in this really cushy PTA neighborhood, right, where I was large and in charge of all this volunteer stuff. And I loved that life. It was a very family feel there in this neighborhood, lots of kids, lots of families. And everyone there knew I had this chronic pain condition. So they took care of me. They showed up. They would call me and say, hey, you're having a bad day. Give me your grocery list. We'll get the kids off the bus, right, whatever you need. And I really dug in my heels because this was a work relocation and I didn't want to go. But nonetheless, I surrendered to this move and found myself in a new neighborhood across town where I couldn't make a friend to save my life. Here I am in chronic pain. I was 39, going on 40 years old, and in a new neighborhood, no support. And really had to take a hard look at myself in the mirror. And I knew all these things that I'd been doing for years weren't working. I was taking all this medication. I was washing it down with alcohol starting at 5 o'clock and then 4 o'clock. So I found myself in this new neighborhood surrounded by Eastern philosophy, which I had never been exposed to. I was this conventional mom in this conventional world and conventional treatment. And I had been exposed to meditation in this new neighborhood and started to do some research on it because I learned that meditation could help me to control my pain. And at this point in my life, I thought, this is worth a shot because I've been running the gamut here with all this stuff and I'm just getting worse. So I started to meditate in this new house. And this A-type personality that I have, I scheduled my meditation. So I was pretty serious about this. I started, morning, afternoon, and evening for about 10, 20 minutes. I would sit in meditation. And I started to notice some really interesting things happening. I was hearing voices in my head as I was meditating. And I thought, wow, my mind's really making stuff up. I'm really bad at this meditation stuff because you're supposed to have a quiet mind and I'm doing something wrong. And, in between my meditations, I was feeling a little better. I was noticing I was improving in the pain area. But as I continued this process, I ended up going deeper and deeper into meditation and starting to have some really detailed information and conversations coming through. So between my meditations, as this is going on, and I'm noticing the differences in my pain, I start to notice I'm hearing voices in my head as I'm walking around, just conscious, not in a meditative state. But even at the grocery store, Jimmy, like I'm at the grocery store, I run into an acquaintance, somebody I don't even know very well, and I might be having a casual conversation with them about the soccer game, the kids' soccer game. And in that conversation, I would hear something really personal about this person. And I would get in my car and I would scratch my head and think, did they really say that to me out loud? Because if they did, I didn't respond. And if I didn't respond to them, that's pretty rude. But I don't even know them well enough for them to have said that to me.
What were the voices saying? Like, this mom is a puppy killer. Stay away. Something like that?
No, not at all.
Okay.
Not at all.
Okay.
No. No, I was really picking up more on, personality things, emotions, maybe issues they were having with their family members, arguments they were having with family, situations with relationships where, I might pick up on a problem that they were having in their marriage. And it wasn't something that this person would have ever considered telling me because I didn't know them that well. So I was picking up on information from them that they weren't verbally expressing to me.
That's crazy. Now, we're going to head towards a break right here. So you can give me the short answer. Did you think you were going nuts?
I thought I was going nuts.
Yeah.
Yes.
And did you talk to anybody about this?
As a matter of fact, I did the opposite. I hid out in my closet and didn't tell a single soul.
Wow. Wow. Did you know, 30 seconds, did you know who was attempting this communication?
Not at first, but I started to question and got a lot of information after that.
Oh, this is getting interesting. Okay, let's take our break right here. Our guest tonight, Micheila Sheldan, and we're going to pick up right where we're leaving off because this is the point where, and for anybody out there that is going through this experience and you may not know what's going on, take note, right? I'm your host, Jimmy Church. This is Fade to Black. Our guest tonight, Micheila Sheldan. We'll be right back. Stay with us.
This is Fade to Black with Jimmy Church on the Game Changer Radio Network and KGRA, the Global Radio Alliance.
This is KGRA Digital Broadcasting Station, Salt Lake City, Utah, Van Buren, Arkansas. Hello, Fadernauts. This is Jimmy Church, and I'm introducing New Pharma, a company whose products are based on science. Human function based on the endocannabinoid system, or ECS. New Pharma firmly believes in this science, and their research indicates that support of the ECS provides the beneficial effects for a healthy lifestyle. New Pharma's science includes relief capsules for pain relief, sleep capsules, which are natural support for occasional sleeplessness. Foundation is support for your ECS, and Fit capsules support your active lifestyle. Just click on the banner at jimmychurchradio.com and use the promo code F2B for a 33% discount on all of their products. Or visit newpharma.com for all of the knowledge on the science. That's GNUpharma.com. Go Beckley Tappy.
You're listening to my main man, Jimmy Church, on jimmychurchradio.com.
Hi, this is Ray Hobbs here, repping the planet, and you're listening to my good friend, Jimmy Church, Fade to Black, on the Game Changer Network and the KGRA Digital Broadcast Station.
This is Toby Kebbell. You're listening to jimmychurchradio.com. Don't hurt me, Jimmy. I'm only little.
Hey, I'm Adrian Grenier.
And this is Ari Gold.
We're the Honey Brothers. We're of the Honey Brothers. Hey, I'm Adrian Grenier.
And I'm Ari Gold.
We're the Honey Brothers.
And you're listening to Jimmy Church.
The Revolution.
Ancient Life Oil. Life-changing. The real oil. CBD is truly Ancient Life Oil from the source. This oil has no psychoactive effect and is also legal in all 50 states. When you're healthy, you're happy. The truth about this wonderful plant is that it wants to give back to mankind life, longevity, and happiness. Ancient Life Oil are golden grade, all organic, non-GMO, and infused with high-quality liquid coconut oil. It's simple. Just go to ancientlifeoil.com today. That's ancientlifeoil.com. The best, purest, organic, and non-GMO CBD in the world. Go Beckley Tappy. The statements made regarding these products have not been evaluated by the Food and Drug Administration. These products are not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease. Please consult your healthcare professional about potential interactions or other possible complications before using any product.
This is Micah Hanks of the Graylien Report, and you're listening to Jimmy Church on Fade to Black, across the globe on the Game Changer Radio Network and the one and only KGRA Radio, The Planet.
All right, welcome back. Fade to Black. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. You can follow me on Twitter at JChurchRadio. Our guest tonight, Micheila Sheldan. And quick update on the World Series. The Astros just scored. LA's still up 3-2. Top of the eighth, one out. Okay, back to Micheila. If Detroit was in the World Series, would you care?
Oh, boy. You're really pushing me to the edge here. No. I would care.
Okay.
Would I watch? I'm not sure, but I would care.
Okay, there you go. Now, right before the break, we were discussing that you started to hear things that were starting to surface in your life. What did you, let's continue here. What did you do about it?
Well, I really didn't do anything about it except for start to research, because I really wanted to know what the heck was going on with me. To be honest with you, I was a little angry. I felt like I had a lot of interruptions in my life with these messages coming in, and I didn't understand who they were coming from and what they were. So I started to do some research, just reading about connections like this. And I'm a really skeptical person, Jimmy, and I had a hard time coming to terms with the fact that I was channeling, and I couldn't even call it that, nor did I even know what channeling was, to be honest with you. Hey, this wasn't what I planned to do with my life. And,
right.
But I started to come to terms with the fact that I was clairaudient, meaning I was able to hear in a different dimension than where my body existed here on the earth.
So let's before we continue, some of the audience knows, but what's the definition of clairaudient and clairvoyant? We hear these words all the time, but we may not actually understand what we're talking about.
Right. Well, we have these, extrasensory tools, and as far as a channel goes, really, I just believe we're all channels. Like the kids, we come in with these gifts, and we're here on this planet communicating beyond physical. And we have these extrasensory tools. So someone who's clairaudient is hearing beyond the physical, meaning they're picking up on information that exists vibrationally in the space that is not physically based. And the same with clairsentient, right? You can feel. We all know, how we pick up on energy in the body. Sometimes you can just walk up to someone and you get that feeling in the pit of your stomach, like something's wrong. That's your internal guidance giving you a message in non-physical. So channeling is really just picking up on energy in the space. And I believe that, this space that we're sitting in right now, the room that I'm sitting in, I see the table, I see the chair, I see the lamp, but what I cannot see is so much more. and these extrasensory tools, we have the ability to pick up on that so much more if we can tune into it.
And clairvoyant?
Clairvoyant, inner and outer sight. We have some brilliant gifted people here in our organization, and we have a woman who can see auras. She can see the human aura, and that's using her physical sight, right, beyond the physical, to see energy fields around people. And, you can even see in the mind's eye, very similar to you projecting through that dream when you were 5, being able to see yourself as an adult doing something. We all have this ability to be able to use our inner sight to project into potential realities that may be manifested here on the earth.
And when you start to jump into, because this world of ours, it goes far and wide really, really quickly. Channeling is, it's not directed in one space, but it also involves lots of parts of our own history. And you have to take a history lesson into all of this, right? Whether it's ancient Egypt or lost civilizations or Lemuria, and then that's here, and that's not taught in school. So you've got to go and research all of this. But then you have everything that is involved with the stars and off planet. It must have been overwhelming.
It was overwhelming to me because I had never heard of those things before.
Right.
And I had to come to terms with the fact that, part of me really wanted to go there and research it all. But as a channel, and I'll just kind of back up to say that one of the most early messages I got when I started to hear these beings speaking to me was that I had agreed to be on the earth at this time as a channel. And I said, no way. They showed me doing this in front of audiences. I wasn't even comfortable with it. I was doing it in my closet. But when I started having these messages come through, it's almost like an integrity issue, because part of me wanted to do all of this research and find out what are other channels saying, what is Lemuria, what happened there. But another side of me really wanted to not go there, and I don't, because I have this integrity issue when I'm channeling. If the information comes through me and it's something that I've not studied or I wouldn't possibly know about, and it matches something, historically that is in a book somewhere, or just comes through so intelligently that it makes complete and total sense, it helps me to be more grounded in this gift.
Well, and then you have to. There are strange words and definitions that start to surface here, like Merkaba, Kundalini, chakra points.
Yes.
All of the the pineal gland, right? All of this stuff. This all starts to come in, and when you start to hear about this, and then you go, "Are you telling me?" I want to understand you, if I'm understanding you right. You're getting the information first. You don't know what you're getting, and then you turn around and have to research it, and then you find out that it's actually real. Now we're dealing with a factual-based situation for you, where you're confirming that the information that is coming in is real. It's not your imagination.
Absolutely. That's exactly what happened. And, it started just with a few words. So I was getting 2-3 words, those 2-3 words would build up to a sentence. And I was writing. I had started to keep a journal because, I thought I was going a little crazy. So I wanted to write this stuff down because I wanted to look back, and those 2-3 words started to become, 15, and one sentence was 2, and then it was 3, and then it was 4. So I was coming through from my meditations with so much information that I wasn't remembering enough to write it down. And, I was going into deeper and deeper states of trance. So one day I decided that I was going to hit record on my iPhone and record myself bringing the messages through. And in my mind, I thought, I'm going to hear, and then I'm going to speak it into the iPhone. But what ended up happening really threw me for a loop, because I heard my voice change. I would hear these beings speaking through me in different tones and languages, words that I had never heard of before. And so listening to those recordings, I really had to come to terms with the fact that, this was not me. I was providing the vehicle, or the open channel for information. But this was information that was really not available to my consciousness previously.
And, okay. Man, I've got 50 questions here. Okay, let's start with the basic one. How did you start to move forward? Did you seek out advice? Did you find a mentor somewhere?
No. As a matter of fact, it all energetically kind of happened for me. I had this one defining moment in my awakening that I'll share, and everything just kind of took off from there. And so this was 2010. It was Christmas morning. And, oldest of 3 kids, Italian Catholic family. I always had everyone over to my house for dinner. Mm-hmm. And I was making a tenderloin, a beef tenderloin that day. This is like a really special recipe I only took out at Christmas time, right? A lot of work.
Right.
And I noticed, I get up that morning, I'm excited, go to the pantry and pulling everything out. I noticed I forget to purchase 3 very key ingredients for this tenderloin. There was a red wine, a beef stock, and a spice that I needed that I didn't have in the house.
Yeah, that sounds critical.
Yeah, real critical, right? So I go to the pantry, I get on a stool, I'm pushing stuff around, and sure, I can mock this thing up. And I didn't find anything. So it's funny, I even remember I called the local gas station that morning because, the grocery stores are closed.
It's closed,
and I'm
right.
thinking, all right, they got something on the shelf. Well, of course, they didn't have anything. So my practice at this time.
Red wine from an AM PM on Christmas morning.
Yeah, didn't work.
Yeah,
didn't
right,
work. Right. But, I was in a state of chronic pain, right? And for me, my process was, if I was in a state of stress equaled pain, stress equaled I go straight to meditation, because meditation was how I was healing. So that morning I told my kids, Mom needs a couple minutes, shut the door, went into my room, and I went into this very deep meditation that day. And I heard 3 words that just forever changed my life. It was in a male voice, very deep, actually so loud that I thought someone was in the room with me. It shook me out of the meditation. And those words were, I am Jacob. And I looked around, opened my eyes. I tried to communicate back with this Jacob, and I didn't get anywhere. But I had this incredible, blissful, peaceful energy surrounding me. The stress was gone. And I just thought, wow, what was I so stressed about? This is ridiculous. I can salt and pepper this thing. It's Christmas morning. Felt great. Went out to the kitchen, opened the pantry door, and there on the shelf, in a very neat row, right at eye level, in 3 sealed containers, were the 3 ingredients that I needed for this recipe.
Right.
And I was kind of, I was overjoyed. I thought, I manifested something into my physical reality that day, or this Jacob heard me and provided something for me that I needed. I didn't really care at the time. I just made this meal, was really excited about it, and didn't tell a damn soul. But what I did do was I started talking to Jacob. And I was given a lot of information from him about, personally, why I was here, who he was. He told me he was a past life connection for me. It's a very sweet story, actually. He told me that in a past life, he was lost. And I took him in, and I fed him, and I clothed him, and I cared for him in that life as my own. And so he came back to me in this life, in this form, to help me remember who I was and what I was here to do. So I think energetically, because I was meditating, because I had these connections, my life began to totally change. So I was running into information that I needed so synchronistically. I just happened to get a diagnosis, which my SI joint, my hip joint, is completely obliterated. Don't know how that happened, if I was born that way or if it happened during childbirth, but I ended up getting a diagnosis, and I was sent to a holistic practitioner who had the exact experience that I needed, sent me to a nutritionist who was just happening to take the last client for free when I couldn't pay for it. And then there was a book and this and then that. So I was led down this beautiful path of healing, and I completely healed my chronic pain. I'm 100% pain-free today, got off all my medications. As a matter of fact, I'm in better health today than I was in my 30s, going into 50.
Right on. Yep.
But, there were so many things that I learned in this time that strengthened my connection. And, I had moved into this house, and unbeknownst to me, there was a reverse osmosis filter in the basement that was filtering the fluoride out of the water. Now, mind you, I didn't know how detrimental fluoride was to this type of connection, nor did I, have any idea what this filter was about. I just thought it was making the water taste better. But things like that, were changing my energy. So I did end up a couple years later falling into this Flower of Life organization with people who were in this conversation and were listening to the messages that I was recording and, said, you got to put this stuff out there, at a time when I didn't have any support in my life. And, I certainly wasn't going to take this to the local PTA with that plate of brownies.
Right. You can't.
No.
The the recordings, how are you doing that? And also, did you have anybody with you?
I did not have anyone with me because, I was doing this alone. I didn't tell a soul. So my kids were at school, and I was closing the bedroom door and hitting record and just going into a meditative state. And, I believe what happened, it's kind of like playing baseball. The more you practice something, the better you get. It just becomes fluid like water. And I had this choppy connection where I was picking up on words and phrases and grocery store stuff. And the more I did this, it just became integrated with me. So it wasn't that I was hearing and saying, it was that I was going into a meditative or trance state where I was allowing the communication to flow through me effortlessly.
Now, how did you, at this point, and we're going to get really deep with this over the next two segments, but as you started to become good, right? You have to practice, and you're doing this. Where were you trying to communicate to? Here, us, Earth. Were you trying to go off planet? Did you know? And how did you do that?
Well, I had no clue what I was doing. First of all, I had no training in this. And I didn't even really know who I was talking to. So I had no goals at the time. As a matter of fact, I was really angry because I didn't really want this, And I got so angry that I started to really question. So, we were talking a moment ago about the extrasensory tools in the body. So obvious to me, very clairaudient. And, if I look back in my life, I noticed that's really the most important extrasensory tool that I have. I'm always listening to music, right? I can hear a pin drop. If my kids were trying to sneak out of the house, right? They could never do it. I'd wake up. But once that began to operate on automatic pilot, I noticed my body, when guides were present, beings were present, I would get this incredible chill up my left leg. It's just a buzzy sensation that I would pick up on. So I would know that a message was going to come in. So when I would start to feel that, I would question and say, who are you? I want to know who you are. I want to know why you're here. What do you want from me? What's the message? And I got a lot of answers that way, being very intentional and almost a little aggressive with what was happening. And, a lot of people are afraid of this type of connection. And I get asked a lot, did you have any negative experiences, and how did you protect yourself? Well, protection wasn't even on my radar. But I think because, I want to say this two things. I think because, number one, I was in such a state of, I want to say aggressive, but I was very angry and inquisitive. So I was constantly questioning, which was a very strong stance to take with these beings that were coming in. But also, I was making all these life changes, Jimmy. So, in addition to the fluoride being filtered out, I had gone through my pantry and started to eat all organic, and it was making different choices in my life, with all different areas of consciousness, and I was studying this, and I think my energy shifted to the point where I was connecting with some really safe, loving beings. So no, I wasn't directing this, but I'll tell you what happened, which is really interesting. About 2 years into this, I decided to take a class in channeling. And I walked in, and it was a local woman, and she said, well, show me what you got, channel for me. And I did, and she was kind of blown away. And she said, you're going straight into my master class. You're not a beginner. And when I got there, I was just allowing whoever was coming in to come in and to talk to me. And I wasn't trying to direct it any certain way, but
right.
I would get into class, and we would show up one day, and she'd say, well, we're going to channel Native Americans today. And I'd look at her and I'd say, I don't do that. And she'd say, you'll do it. You'll do it. And as soon as I started to direct, my intention towards that energy, I was just in awe because it would happen. So I did learn to direct the gift through time, but I wasn't doing that at first.
Without saying her name, was she good? And do you talk to her today?
I think she was good. I don't talk to her today. One disadvantage of that class, because, everything has its advantages, disadvantages, right? I learned some great tools in that class, but one of the things I also learned was fear. And I think there's a lot of fear around this type of communication. And so I was taught protection in a way that made me fear what was out there, which, not to say that there aren't things out there we don't want to connect with, but I think that when we have this concept in our mind that we have to protect ourselves all the time from something negative out there, we're just connecting with that negative,
Well, that's exactly right. And also, you need to be aware of that because you can't see, you don't know. And the scary part about this is deception. Somebody could be communicating with you and not telling you the truth, manipulating you. And so you need to have a fear, and you need to have some type of wall up. You need to protect yourself.
Well, I think it's a vibrational thing. That's what I've come to believe, because we're matching frequencies. And this is how I perceive this communication to take place. I have an intention here to be open, to allow this communication to come through me. And, we've got all these varieties of, guides, beings, collectives that want to communicate with us. And there's an exchange that takes place. So in that middle place, I'm going to raise my vibration and they're going to lower theirs to be able to come together and offer some type of communication here on the planet that makes sense. And I think everything you do in your life, every decision that you make is accounted into that vibrational match. So, I don't want to make this so heavy, like you can't do something wrong. When I started to take this class, for example, the first thing I was told is no drinking. No one that's in this class for the next 8 weeks can have a sip of alcohol. And I thought, well, crap,
yeah, that sucks.
Not that I'm drinking every night, right? But that doesn't sound like any fun.
Right.
So what's happening is, if you feel like you can't have a sip of alcohol just to make this, connection, you're always going to be judging yourself. You're always going to feel bad. If you take a sip of alcohol, you're going to, blame yourself, shame yourself to the point where that vibration can match things that aren't equal to truth. And I believe that's how it happens. I think it's far more subtle than the way people make it when they talk about protection. Because listen, I don't think there's anything wrong with lighting the white candles and all of this stuff if you truly believe that's what's protecting you. But a lot of that process, going into that process of lighting that white candle, can take you through scenarios in your mind of fearful entities and put you in a state of fear. And fear equals fear, right?
Right.
Truth equals truth. And that's how this connection happens. Now,
we're going to head towards a break here in a few minutes. And when we come back, I want to, shift things to the communications that are going on with our, ET brothers out there and how that started. But when you had said that you were chosen or that you were here for a purpose, and they told you that in the very, very beginning, and you had to accept that. Is that all inclusive with all of the communication that you are doing?
When you say all inclusive, is that
the Lemurian or things that are from this earth too as well?
Absolutely. Yeah. I started off with Jacob. Jacob was a very transitional guide for me that brought in other beings, ETs. I started to channel extraterrestrials before I even believed in them, that they existed here.
Oh, that's cool. I definitely want to find out about that. Oh, I wanted to ask you, who was first when we're talking about, I know that, Jeremiah, but when did Mary Magdalene, for instance, come into the picture?
Very early on, I connected with her, and I had this incredible, talk about a bliss trip, incredible bliss trip with her. The first time I connected with her, it was just so loving, and I was almost in this state of bliss for a couple of days that I didn't come down. It was like a high. I was walking through the woods and wanting to feed the deer, and I just have this visual of me sitting in traffic and looking at color, the vibrant color. That's how I experienced Mary. So she did come in pretty early for me. Yeah.
And how did she introduce herself?
Oh, good question. I was working with a group of beings at the time, and she came in as a part of a collective of groups of beings that I was working with. And specifically because some of the messages that I was bringing in had a lot to do with transition on the planet. And again, this wasn't something that I was asking for. It was just coming in. And she introduced me, introduced herself to me as someone that was here to support these messages that I was bringing to the planet.
I mean, did she, what name did she use? I'm just curious. I mean, how does that happen?
Yeah. Well, I was pretty adamant about names. Again,
right.
I really was. I kind of had this strange rule where, if someone was going to talk to me, I wanted a name. And ever since I stated that, I would get a name. So before I would hear a conversation, I would hear Mary Magdalene. And then I would hear, the message from Mary Magdalene. Or I would hear, Saint Germain. And then I would get the message from Saint Germain. So I always knew who was speaking to me because they were announcing themselves to me.
Wow. Did you get any secrets out of her? I mean, was she pregnant when she left Jerusalem? Did she go to the south of France? How many kids did she have?
Well, I have. I just did a really interesting channel a month ago where there were some great questions asked about her life. And
okay, all right. Stop right there. Let's take a break. We'll do all of that when we come back. Our guest tonight, I almost said Mary Magdalene, Micheila Sheldan. But yeah, technically, I could actually get away with that. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. This is Fade to Black. We'll be right back. More with Micheila right after this. Stay with us.
Way out here, we listen to Jimmy Church.
You're listening to Fade to Black.
Always on the edge of the hottest alternative talk. Jimmy Church with Fade to Black. KGRARadio.com.
¿Qué tal, mis amigos? Yo soy Mario Carson, el tiburón, y los invito para que escuchen a mi buen amigo Jimmy Church Radio. ¡Claro que sí!
Hurricanes, earthquakes, wildfires. This year we've experienced more than our fair share. This is Jimmy Church of Fade to Black, and last month I decided to make sure my family does not have to worry about food should we get caught in a real emergency situation. Introducing Numana, a healthy, storable product that tastes so good that you'll want to eat it every day instead of just during those times of duress. All Numana products have a 25-year shelf life, are MSG and GMO-free, no preservatives, and are made in America. With the Numana pack in your home, you'll be able to sleep at night knowing that you've protected your family. Not only have I tasted and tested, I own it. Now you can too. Just click on the Numana banner on jimmychurchradio.com and use the promo code Jimmy when you order. In addition to a discount, we'll send you an autographed Fade to Black t-shirt. Seriously, go Beckley Tappy.
Do you worry a lot? Whether you're a college student, busy professional, parent, or grandparent, ongoing stress and elevated levels of the stress hormone cortisol can rob your memory, your health, and your future. Now you can combat the effects of stress and anxiety while improving your memory and recall at the same time with the dietary supplement Calm and Clever. Studies show that the ingredients in Calm and Clever reduce cortisol by as much as 30% in 1 to 2 weeks. Call 1-800-758-8746 or calmandclever.com.
You listen to us, and we listen to you. And so does the CIA. KGRARadio.com.
Hi, folks. CBD is the home run hitter for health right now. Why, you ask? Because of what it does for the body. Unfortunately, I can't tell you all about the benefit. You know, there's reasons. Do your due diligence and log on to ancientlifeoil.com. That's ancientlifeoil.com. Ancient Life Oil uses organic ingredients and is blended in coconut oil for some of the best benefits. Legal in 50 states and non-psychoactive. Log on to ancientlifeoil.com. That's ancientlifeoil.com.
You are listening to Fade to Black with Jimmy Church on the Game Changer Network.
Oi, oi, I'm Reese Evans. You're listening to Jimmy Church. This is Revolution. The revolution will not be televised. The revolution is on radio. Ciao.
Welcome back, Fade to Black. Our guest tonight, Micheila Sheldan. Intuitive channeling is what we're talking about tonight. Quick update on the World Series. Bottom of the ninth. Uh-oh, looks like it is not a home run. Okay, we're heading to extra innings, all tied up 3-3. Man, that was close. All the way to the warning track. Okay, we're heading to extra innings, all tied up. Game 2 of the World Series. Okay. My sportscast, the Dodgers. Okay, all right. Micheila, Mary Magdalene, right before the break, we started to talk about this, and I asked you what everybody wants to know, right? What really happened? How many kids? Was she pregnant? Were they married? All of these things. And you said that, was it a couple of months ago? Or
about
recently?
a month ago, I did a channeling, and a question was asked about her role here on the planet. You know, what was her purpose? What was her role? And there was some interesting information that came in about her actually being an oracle. So she was connecting with, she was a channel, you know, similar to what I do, helping Jesus on his path with information from various gods. But the one that was brought up was Ra, the sun god, who
really,
really interestingly, there are some books and information about her working with this Ra, which I had absolutely no idea about before that channeling took place. But yeah, that's exactly what came through. That the reason that she has been looked at through history as, perhaps not in integrity as a woman, is that this information she was bringing through was so important. There was a lot of people in that time that did not want her to be in that role, especially as a woman, but also bringing forth information about, things like creation, and ancient prophecies and things that, there was a vested interest in people not knowing. So, yeah, that was what came through.
Yeah, wait. She said that Jesus was communicating with, I call him Jesus, but that Jesus was communicating with Ra, the sun god from Egypt?
Through Mary Magdalene.
Yes. Mary. Oh.
Yes. That she was the conduit. She was the conduit for the communication with Ra in that time.
And did she tell you anything else? I mean, what kind of information was she giving to him? Did you get any of that?
Well, I think the general consensus when I channel about that timeline is, first of all, of course, it's not depicted in many of the religious texts exactly the way it went down. And some of the more physical aspects of that timeline are really more non-physical and symbolic in the way that they're meant to be interpreted.
Sure.
So we take away meaning now, here in our present day, that is quite different than what she experienced in that life. So I think that, I encourage your audience to listen to that channeling. It's really my most recent one on my YouTube channel because it's pretty in-depth. But in general, I think that the two of them, divine masculine, divine feminine, they were here together on the planet as healers. She having the connection, the channeled connection to the gods and ancient information and wisdom that they were sharing together on the planet about what we have within, about our DNA, about our technology, about how we create, about how we rise above suffering in our lives.
What about, were they married? Did they have kids?
That information wasn't asked specifically, but what I can tell you is I have done some channeling for a very well-known healer. He's a partner of mine in Flower of Life. His name is Ethan Fox. And we've done some work with understanding his lineage here as a healer, and we've been told that she has several children. She had children at the time, of course, but here on the planet in this time, there are descendants of that lineage that are here actually doing healing work on the planet, similar to what they did in that time.
Very interesting. Well, okay, so when I hear something like that, is there anything that you can get into specifics? Are they alive? Are they here now? Do we know who they are?
I believe we know who one of them is. I believe that she said there were 4 or 5. And this is the way I look at this. Many of these masters, these great masters like Mary Magdalene and Jesus, their soul energy is fragmented into other souls here on the planet. So we have many who are carrying the lineage and the soul energy of the Mary Magdalene wisdom forward in their own way,
right,
and expressing that here on the planet. And yes, I believe there are 4 or 5 here on the planet, and some of them I was told are actually children right now. So they're not even aware that they have the gifts that they have because they've just come onto the planet.
Well, what I find interesting about that is for some out there, this may be a difficult concept to accept. I'm talking about Ra channeling, Mary channeling Ra and communicating this channeling back to Jesus. But we need to all understand something, and especially back at that time, geographically, all of these cultures were in contact with each other. Okay, so when you look at where Giza and Egypt and Cairo and Jerusalem and the Mediterranean, all the way back through into Syria and Iraq, geographically this was a small area, and all of these cultures interacted. Persia, everything was a melting pot right there. And all of the great things in modern civilization were born there and were created there. So I don't see this as that far of a reach. I see that as culturally these things and these religions and this communication were incestuous. It was all over the place. I find that very interesting. I've never heard about this connection before, but it's not that much of a stretch. It really isn't. Most when you hear about this and somebody wants to back up and go, well, wait a minute. No, look at the stories in the Bible with Moses and the pharaohs and Egypt and how all of that went down. It was all right there. And geographically, it was all technically, for me, it's the same place. You could walk anywhere. It might take you a while, but you could cross into these cultures every single day, and they intermingled.
Exactly. And there's so much we don't know. That's the one thing that I've come to in this whole, transition that I've walked, because channeling is a pretty subjective thing, right? You're reaching out into the universe and pulling information forward that might not be in the history books. It might not be something that we've been taught. And, you do have to kind of, I don't want to say trust, because you don't need to trust everything that's out there. You have to really feel into it, right? And we've been taught so many things that are very backwards as we've grown up here. And I feel like we're undoing all of that right now,
Right. Let's go off planet a little bit. Are you familiar with Bashar?
I am familiar with Bashar, yes.
Okay, Daralenka. He's been a guest on this show, and, he lives here in Southern California. I've always been fascinated with Bashar, and I went through a really, really bad Bashar period where I just could not stop listening and watching the presentations and those channeling. Now let's talk about the off-world stuff. When did that first start?
Pretty early on, so we were talking about finding my way into this organization, which I'm now executive director of. So I ended up falling into this Flower of Life Center for Human Evolution here in Detroit. And we're focused on furthering human consciousness, and we have all these projects. So I this volunteer in me, and now this, channel in me took to this real quickly. And one of our bigger projects at the time was an activist movement. And we were working on several projects for creating awareness and change around things like GMO foods and fluoride in the water and chemtrail and all of these things. And had really come to a stumbling block on that. And I thought, let me channel on this, where we need to go next and what we need to do. And I was really shocked because I did have a collective of extraterrestrials that came in and gave me some messages about these things. And it was not what I expected. They actually told me that there was a reptilian consciousness that existed here on this planet that was responsible for all of these things that were holding us separate of our one connection or our source connection, and that until humanity understood this, that there would not be progress in these areas. So that was really my first experience with extraterrestrials.
And your first taste was reptilian. That's pretty...
Yeah.
Wow.
Right? Yeah.
And you, up to this point, what did you know about the UFO culture and community and reptilians and Nordics and Greys? Did you have any idea about any of this?
Nothing at all.
Really?
No, I was not in the conversation. I didn't really think I believed in extraterrestrials, and didn't study it. I had no clue. So it was a big, this was a big step for me to walk into that world and listen and trust. And, one of the groups of beings that I started communicating with first, right off the bat, were Pleiadians. And, was given the name Pleiadians and told they were a collective of ninth dimensional beings, and had to go look that up and understand that. So, it was a pretty interesting time in my life.
Have you seen anything in the sky?
I have not seen anything in the sky, but I have had a very large number of lucid experiences with extraterrestrials.
Okay, so I needed to ask that question. Let's back up again to this communication that you mentioned that you would ask for names. Did you do that also with, I'm just going to say E.T. Did you do that as well?
Absolutely, I did.
Okay.
Yes.
Give me some names. I got to know.
You mean singular extraterrestrial names?
Sure.
Oh my gosh, there's so many. I mean, for me, I work with a lot of collective energies. So I was getting the Pleiadian collective, the Lemurian collective, things like that. But I was getting names like Goliath, Livingston, the Timekeepers. I get strange names like Nemiha and things like that. So even, I work with clients, a lot of clients, and I can tell you that every day, at least one client, we will have very strange names that will come in that I have a hard time grasping, but I'll always know the race of being that we're working with. So I'm always presented with the race or the collective, planetary energy that they come from. And I try to grasp onto those names as best I can.
Livingston.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've even worked with beings like Pythagoras, or guides like Pythagoras have come in for me, I've been channeling a book, and I've had Pythagoras come in for my book. I've had Martin Luther King come in for me. So it's not just been interdimensionals, but yeah, I've worked with many who are different races.
I want to know about this Livingston character. That's a great name. He was E.T.?
He was E.T., and he was actually Pleiadian.
A Pleiadian named Livingston.
Yeah.
That is interesting.
To a degree, I believe that sometimes these beings will give us names or identities that our consciousness can grasp onto. Because let's face it, in our human reality, we don't really understand their language, although I have had some light language come in and things like that. We don't understand their language. We don't understand what it's like to be non-physical or to live in a different dimensional reality than the one that we're in right now. So there's a filtering process that takes place when these beings are connecting to a channel. And, oftentimes they will change their identity or their name to something that's more relatable to us.
Now, when Daryl Anka is channeling Bashar, I believe, he has told me this, but I think in most cases he says that Bashar is here. Right, he's in his ship right now that is parked, in orbit around Earth, and that's where the channeling is taking place. It's a very direct thing. He is here, in our solar system here on planet Earth. For you, when you are channeling like Livingston or a Pleiadian, where are they? Are they back in their star system, in their cluster, and the communication is happening that way, or are they here somewhere?
I believe that they are here in non-physical. So I'll tell you my process, and I'm a trance channel. I can trance channel, and I can also be a conscious channel, and the process is a little bit different. So I could be talking to you just like I'm talking to you right now, and I can channel in a guide and answer a question based on what a higher vibrational group or beings of wisdom would bring through me. The trance channeling is a little bit different. I really get out of the way. So I have an interesting experience of that where I kind of leave my physical body. So when I'm trance channeling, I step outside of my physical body, and I'm almost an observer, where these beings, the non-physical, they step in and they take over my voice. They're using my hands, my eyes, concepts known to me to present ideas. So when I'm doing my live channeled sessions, I will often, I kind of have a funny process because I'll get questions from the audience, and I don't remember a lot of what comes through in my trance channeling from the guides, the beings, the collectives, but I almost always remember the questions because my my brain will hear the question, and as I'm sitting outside of my body, I'm panicking a little bit because I'm thinking, I don't know what that means. I don't know how to answer that question. How are we going to answer that question? I don't know, but the answer always comes through, and I'm more of an observer of the process than I am a participant in it. So it's a little bit different for me than it is for Bashar.
For the audience, what is trans channeling?
Trans channeling is not being conscious while the channeling takes place. So a lot of people might, if your audience is familiar with Edgar Cayce, for example, Edgar Cayce was a trans channel. He would almost go unconscious to the point where he was not aware of what was taking place. And that's what trans channeling is. I don't really have an awareness of what's happening, even though my conscious mind is outside and can sometimes step in and be an observer. That energy is working through me. So I'm almost a container for a being, a collective, an energy to step in and use me as a tool to relay a message.
How easy is it to go into that zone? Can you just flip a switch?
Super easy. Yeah. It's really easy for me because that's what I do now.
Well, audience, you know what Twitter's doing right now. Jimmy, get her to channel on the air. Come on. I've never done that. Just so you know, it's something I've never done. So before I even ask, let's let that thought simmer for just a second. I don't even know if I can handle it, so let alone you. But back to the ET communications. One of the things that I have difficulty with is the generalization that gets repeated. Such as, I'll give you a few examples. You're probably going to laugh, but we can't reveal ourselves until you guys grow up. Right, we're waiting for you guys to mature on Earth, and then we'll come and visit. We can't help you. We can only give you advice. We want world peace. All of these generalizations without specifics. Do you take issues with all of that, just like I do?
Well, I have a whole different concept of that, to be honest with you. I don't believe in that. No, I've never had that message come through me. As a matter of fact, the extraterrestrials that I work with, they kind of think disclosure on our planet's a little bit of a joke because we think of disclosure as very physical. And almost we seem to be chasing our tails here to uncover and blame and hold responsible all of these people and things. And they almost believe disclosure here on our planet's already happened because it's an internal thing. I mean, how many of us have not had some type of experience, right, here on the planet, whether it's been visual, seeing a ship, or having that inner communication? And some of us are just negating it and not believing that it's happening, but it is happening. So we have enough information now to know that these beings exist and that they've been here on our planet and they visit us, and I think they're here to assist us, but they don't have any expectation. And some of the conversations that I've had with these collectives, they're not all knowing, all being, they don't judge. As a matter of fact, they are going through their own awakening process, and many of them will say that they're here to assist humans and observe because they learn from us as we go through our process how to also integrate things into their own planetary experience. So no, I don't believe that to be the case. I don't think that we have to reach a certain point. I think that point's already been reached. I think it's an opportunity. How is your consciousness grasping on to what's already happening here within and accepting that? Because I think that the more we accept that internally, that thing that we're fighting for in physical, that big grand disclosure that we're fighting for in physical, it could happen overnight if we all accepted internally what's happening with us, right? It's a vibrational thing, I believe. So no, I don't think there's anything that we have to reach, any goal we have to reach.
What about, okay, so Lemurian, Pleiadian, Arcturians, Council of Light. What about the Andromedans? Have you communicated and channeled with them?
Very little, but I have.
Really? Yes. Have you seen Rita's Andromedan picture?
I haven't.
Okay.
No.
Okay. I've got to figure out a way to get that to you. I've got to figure out a way. I might be able to do it during the break. Okay. Rita, email me the picture and I will get it to Micheila during the break. She's got to see that. Now, what the if we were to channel after the break, I would just talk to you and I could just ask you questions.
Absolutely.
And
yeah, we could channel in. The way I would do this is we would channel in the guides that are best suited for your audience and the questions that you're going to ask. And you could most certainly just speak to them and ask questions.
And so how do we do that? Man, I'm so excited. But how do I get to choose who we're going to channel with?
If you'd like, we could give that a try. I'm a very open channel, and I believe that the intention that I place to connect with certain beings, those certain beings will come forward. It always seems to work for me.
What about so what if we did the council? Could we do the Council of Light?
Yeah, absolutely, we could.
Really? And I could ask whatever I wanted.
You could ask whatever you wanted.
Okay, I'm going to throw this out to the Fadernauts right now. Use hashtag F2BQ, Fade to Black questions, and I'll squeeze in some of your questions. I'm in totally uncharted territory here, but I'm excited, and we'll figure this out on the fly. So we'll take a break, and Micheila, I'll give you a chance to get ready and to prepare, right? I guess you would. I don't know. I've never done this. So this is pretty cool. This is going to be some amazing radio. There's nothing like first times on Fade to Black. So we'll do all of that after the break. You ready to do this?
Absolutely. Let's do it.
Okay. All right. Let's take a break right here. Twitter is going to go nuts here, but I'll do my best. Okay. Let's take a break. Our guest tonight, Micheila Sheldan. And when we come back, we're going to channel the Council of Light. Everybody get ready. We'll be right back. Stay with us.
Hi, everybody. This is Rob Halford, the Metal God, on JimmyChurchRadio.com.
This is KGRA Digital Broadcasting Station. Salt Lake City, Utah. Van Buren, Arkansas.
Okay, nurse, let's get this man to the ER stat.
Right away, doctor.
We see this every day. Heart attack or angina pain due to blocked and clogged arteries. Chelation can remove obstructions or blockages from arteries and help avoid painful and expensive surgery. Now there's Angioprim. It's a liquid oral chelation product that you take with juice. You start to feel the results fast. Angioprim increases blood flow all over the body, and that means more energy and strength to take on the day with less aches and pains. 60 years of research has gone into chelation, and Angioprim is the result. A safe and easy way to unblock your veins and arteries from buildup that slow circulation.
Paging Dr. Jones. Please report to the emergency room right away.
Log on now for a special radio offer from Angioprim. That's angioprim.com/radio. ANGIOPRIM. Angioprim.com/radio or call 877-882-7221. That's 877-882-7221.
So, you love talk radio? Then you'll love TalkStreamLive.com. TalkStream Live is always on, 24/7 with the best streaming talk shows. Find your favorite talkers and discover some new ones. It's free, readily available online or on any smartphone or tablet. Finding your favorite talk shows all in one place has gotten a whole lot easier. Just go to TalkStreamLive.com. Be sure to download the free apps from Google Play or the iTunes App Store.
Your contact for current news and trending topics. KGRARadio.com.
Hello, Fadernauts. This is Jimmy Church, and I'm introducing New Pharma, a company whose products are based on science. Human function based on the endocannabinoid system, or ECS.
New Pharma firmly believes in this science, and their research indicates that support of the ECS provides the beneficial effects for a healthy lifestyle. New Pharma's science includes relief capsules for pain relief, sleep capsules, which are natural support for occasional sleeplessness. Foundation is support for your ECS, and Fit capsules support your active lifestyle. Just click on the banner at jimmychurchradio.com and use the promo code F2B for a 33% discount on all of their products. Or visit newpharma.com for all of the knowledge on the science. That's GNUpharma.com. Go back, Lee Tappy. Did you know that when you're on the road with limited data or Wi-Fi available, you can still listen to every minute of Fade to Black by just calling 605-562-4482. No smartphone, app, or internet needed. It saves your data plan and no extra cost if you have unlimited minutes. Just call 605-562-4482. You can listen to me, Jimmy Church, on any phone, anytime, anywhere. Go back, Lee Tappy.
You want to know a secret? I love ponies. I really love ponies. I'm serious. I couldn't stay sane without ponies to brush.
Why Fade to Black? Because you never got that pony, damn it.
This is Fade to Black with Jimmy Church on the Game Changer Radio Network and KGRA, the Global Radio Alliance.
All right, welcome back. Fade to Black. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. Our guest tonight, Micheila Sheldan, live from Detroit. And so here we go. This is Fade to Black. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. Now, before the break, we decided to go into a new area for Fade to Black, and we are going to channel. And I wanted to channel the Council of Light. Micheila, are we ready?
We're ready. We're ready.
Okay. My first question would be for the Channel of Light. How long has the Council of Light been observing Earth?
We are pleased to answer this question. We are the Council of Light, and we are a 12th dimensional assembly of a variety of different races of beings who have manifested into one form. Now, it is our intention to answer this question, but we understand that humans would measure in linear years, and our existence is within a dimensional space that operates differently through time and space. Vibrationally, we all come from different dimensional experiences. These dimensional experiences are not measured in time necessarily, but they are containers of information that are brought together as one. So from your perspective, we have been here through the entire Earth incarnation, meaning that as the Earth was formed, we had already been an acting body to connect your Earth to what we would call the universal grids, and that is what we oversee. The universal grids tie all planetary bodies, heavenly bodies, beings together as one, and we oversee these grids to ensure the integrity of the manifestation of all beings in this universal plane of reality. This means that if there are planetary bodies that are not cooperating in the way in which they are we would say vibrating through the grids, that we will make adjustments in the vibration to ensure that other races and planets are not affected by something that is happening that is very localized to a specific planet. So for the purpose of this question, we would say that we have been here through your entire Earth experience.
There has been many wars here on Earth where we have fought each other
Is there going to be another great war, or is there a way to avoid it?
We first wish to say that your earthbound history is not just your own. So humans are operating in a multidimensional DNA, and there is a record associated with that multidimensional DNA. So many of the wars that you have fought here on this planet have had their basis in other dimensional realities off this planet. You are operating in history, and that history repeats itself for the purpose of expansion, meaning that you replay scenarios that have already been projected through space and time in order to reorganize them for the purpose of your own, not only expansion through time here on this planet, but for the benefit of all beings in this universe. Now, timelines exist as potentials. What happens here on your planet, and of course in many other dimensional locations, is that as you are creators, there are potential timelines that you will match vibrationally. So there are potential timelines that exist of war, and those potentials must exist because you have had a history of war. But they do not necessarily have to manifest. It is your direction of vibration that allows them to manifest. And we will make this quite simple. In your singular structure, as a singular being, you have many potentials also that exist. And we'll make it even further simplified to say that perhaps these potentials are having a good day and having a bad day. And as you walk through your reality, your vibration dictates which potential you match. Your collective race operates very similarly. The collective vibration dictates how history repeats itself and how that history comes to manifest. So just because a timeline potential such as war manifests here on the planet, it does not necessarily mean that that war will be as detrimental as perhaps another war was. You're bringing a new consciousness to every timeline that you create. And that consciousness has a great deal to do with the way in which you manifest experience.
Are there negative forces off planet, other ET races manipulating us here on this planet, and does the Council of Light deal with that to make sure that we don't have negative manipulation with our own here on this planet?
Well, let us first say that the human race dictates the way in which it is organized. So when humans came into form, there were directives that were offered to operate within universal law. And one of the most important directives that humanity has chosen is free will. What that means is, as a structure, as a collective structure, your free will is a manifestation of universal law that does not allow other beings to operate within. You, as humans, experience negative situations from beings that are not operating in your best interest, mostly because you are visioning into a singular structure. Let us say first, and we will alert you to our responsibilities in this as you have asked, but let us say first that from our vantage point, the most detrimental energy that is affecting your planet Earth in this time is a reptilian consciousness. And this reptilian consciousness was operating within its planetary energy and had a very detrimental experience. There was a reversal of the fields of the sun, and as that reversal of the fields of the sun took place, they found themselves in a very difficult position. They operate in the mind and they create through the mind, but there was a split of timelines. And as that split of timelines occurred, there was a reptilian collective that found themselves unable to create. They took up home in your Earth as a non-physical energy to create through your structure for the betterment of their own race. And as this has continued today, it has required humans to be very singularly and physically or materially focused in order for that creation to continue. Now, as the Council of Light, it is not our intention to override the free will of any singular structure, especially human. But we are able to assist in other ways, and many other races are also a part of this assistance. We come to offer messages about how your soul vibration can be expanded beyond its singular focus, because that singular focus coming together as a one will strengthen the collective frequency such that this reptilian consciousness cannot operate through you. It can no longer create through a structure that is focused in collective energy. So we can also offer what we'll call vibrational manipulations of the grids. We activate the grids, meaning that we send higher vibrational energies through the grids to your planet. Many on your planet would feel waves of frequency or higher vibrational energies coming to the planet, especially during planetary alignments. We use these planetary alignments to activate and amplify those grids as we send frequency through. So we are assisting your ascension process into a more collectively focused energy such that this reptilian consciousness can no longer access your singular structure and create through you.
Are multiple realities right now merging on a constant basis, and the normal human doesn't necessarily notice it except on limited occasions, like the Mandela effect?
Absolutely, we believe this is happening on your planet, and this is a part of the record of your Mother Earth planet. What's happening is there have been a variety of different timelines that are converging right now within the singular structure. You've been focused very linearly in your physical reality, but as many of these processes of ascension have taken place and these amplifications of the grids have taken place, you become more connected to your non-physical. Your non-physical, and we'll, for the purpose of this communication, focus on the higher self. The higher self, non-physical structure, is aware of all its timelines. So you as a soul energy are fragmented into many timeline energies, but you only perceive one for the purpose of your singular expression. But what's happening now is that your higher self and your light body are becoming more integrated. This is allowing you to tap into multiple timelines at once. This is why many of you are losing memory and having confusion around past. And past is emerging with a different vibrational frequency. You see, anytime there's concrete physical information, perhaps in a book or in a movie as you might perceive it, that concrete physical information is made up of light, and that light is vibrating at a certain speed. As humans, you've increased this speed. That means that everything in your timeline reality must adjust itself to this new speed, meaning that physical information becomes realigned and rearranged. And you begin to notice that things have changed from the way that you recognized them previously.
Will we have disclosure in a mass sense around the world? Will the Council of Light show everybody on the council to us and who they really are?
We believe that disclosure is defined by humanity in a very narrow focus, and is our intention today to widen that focus of definition so that you truly understand our perception of disclosure. You see, in physical form, it would be very difficult for beings of this nature to all reside within your space in a physical manifestation. The dimension that you hold has a lot to do with this statement. We want to explain dimensions for a minute, and then we'll go further into disclosure. Dimensions are operating structures of information. So when you are operating in a third dimensional structure, there is a limit to the amount of non-physical information you can tap into, and that can be held in that structure. This is why oftentimes when you vision into ships that border your Earth or beings that come to your Earth, they do not remain in that space for long periods of time. It is because you are moving through dimensions. And in order for you to view that ship or to be able to see that being, you are stepping into a dimension that you're not able to hold. And that is because your physical structure doesn't match the non-physical information in that dimension enough to keep it stagnant here. So disclosure is happening on many levels. It is happening within the dimension that you hold, and that dimension is shifting, and it is happening within your consciousness. So let's take the example of the dimension that we brought forward. If humanity is truly now existing in a fifth dimensional energy versus a third dimensional energy, what that means is more non-physical information is available to tap into and hold. So this precedes the way disclosure is happening. As you move dimensions, you're able to hold the frequencies of these beings and ships that are already in your space more congruently. So we believe that as humans continue to access higher dimensions, they will perceive disclosure in the physical more readily, because the speed of vibration will hold that physicality for them to be able to view. Now, your consciousness and this definition of disclosure that we spoke of earlier has much to do with the way it is unfolding. And when we speak of consciousness, we're talking about your perception of your reality. You see, as you have been structured in human form, there is a built-in mechanism for you to communicate with the universe. If you think back to many of the ancient cultures that you were discussing on this program previous to this transmission, many of those ancient cultures knew how to telepathically exchange very readily or easily. And much of that ancient knowledge has been lost from your planet. So you're rediscovering how to use this technology. And as you do, it's important that you accept it. So disclosure is happening first from within the inner technology, the telepathic exchange, the visions that you receive, the communication that you receive. Even many who are coming forward on your planet that you consider to be government whistleblowers, for example, those beings could not come forward if your consciousness could not support it. So the more you see these beings stepping forward, you can guarantee that underneath all of that was a vibrating force of human collective consciousness able to activate and receive that information. From our vantage point, the disclosure that you truly desire from your perception as humans will take place in the next 5 years. That disclosure meaning that a variety of historic events will be revealed. And as those historic events are revealed, there will be more belief. And that belief will truly fuel that inner technology to connect further.
So disclosure will come from our own history and not from you landing on a government lawn like the White House.
Well, you see, there are many ships and beings that already exist and are landing on that field in front of the White House. The issue is not that they are not here. The issue is that you cannot hold the dimension to be able to interact with them the way that you desire. So they are already in your space, but you are not able to match the frequency of them to be able to see and communicate with them in the way that you do as humans. But this we see is changing. The energy of your planet is supporting this type of communication far more, and will bring in the understanding of the light body. Many humans don't understand that they also have a light body. They have a physical material, a physical structure, and they have a light body. And what's taken place here on your planet is through space and time, as you have been focused in singular, meaning that your soul or your egoic structure has recognized itself as separate of all things, that speed of that light body has been very separate of you. Your physical body vibrates at a slower speed than the light body can vibrate. But as consciousness has shifted here, and as an awakening process has taken place, your light body is now vibrating at a speed much closer in proximity, time and space wise, to your physical reality. And that's why many of these sightings and communications are taking place. So yes, disclosure is an internal process of the soul in connection with its one collective energy and the way the light body is able to pick up on this information. Many put the responsibility on beings who are not supporting this energy. And we really want to make it clear what this free will directive is all about. You see, if we were to come into your planet and shift and change everything in your reality, it wouldn't be a present moment thing. You see, everything that you connect to is not just in this moment. It is historic timeline energy that goes back millenniums of time. So if we make one change within your planetary energy to benefit something like disclosure, the same way that you are experiencing this Mandela effect on your planet, we would change things in the past that could affect the future. And this is why, from our standpoint, the way we assist disclosure is through assisting the human collective to ascend its consciousness, because it is truly the human collective that is dictating the way disclosure takes place.
Is the Council of Light in communication and contact with world governments directly?
We have communication at times through technologies that your government is accessing. These technologies are telepathic, light collective consciousness, and they're able to time travel between dimensions in order to assimilate information. And we truly want to make this about the record. Many of you understand the Akashic record, that there's a record of all things. And within that record of all things, there is very valuable information. So consider that there are beings that are using advanced technology to travel through space and time, and that information being embedded in Akashic record energy. Your government is tapping into that Akashic record energy to be able to use this technological information. As the Council of Light, we have beings that are representatives of many different races that have developed these technologies. And our biggest concern with your government is that you do not hold the vibration to be able to use these technologies to the true benefit of humanity, because you are still too focused within a singular structure. So most of our communication has to do with training and teaching about non-physical energies of the human structure. And we want to use an example here. Many of you are familiar with the pyramids that exist on your planet. Back in some of the ancient timelines, many believe that there were physical beings that were working on these pyramids, these blocks, and putting them together. But truly what happened there was that technologies were tapped into and used and understood by these ancient beings such that physical manifestations could take place. And this is the type of energy that your government is most interested in. How to manipulate and tap into physical energy using non-physical technologies. We have a council that is a mediator, and that council works between the Council of Light, which is 12th dimensional, and an energy that exists within your physical government. They have more what we would call physical interaction with your government, not only to discuss and help them understand the gravity of using these technologies, but to try to direct them in their energy to ensure that they are for the benefit of humanity. Now, remember this free will aspect of humanity. There can be conversations, but there cannot be manipulation of free will. That is something that is built in through universal law that cannot be overridden. So these beings that are negotiating and speaking with your government, they're only able to do this in a way that is informational, not manipulative.
Well, the question of free will was not always there for us if we were created as a slave race by the Anunnaki. So are you suggesting that the Anunnaki didn't create us and we always had free will?
We believe that statement to be true, but of course there is quite a bit of depth around the answer to this question. The ancient Anunnaki are often misconstrued as a race that was detrimental to humanity or using the energy of humanity for its own purposes. Now, from our vantage point, we would say that every race in this universe has aspects of their culture that have taken different timeline paths, meaning that Anunnaki have higher dimensional benevolent beings that are here to support humanity, and have had beings that have split into timelines that have not been benevolent for humanity. But the creation of humans remains the same. This was a universal directive. Expansion takes place in the universe, and as that expansion took place, a new planetary energy was born. As that planetary energy was born, a calling went out to multiple races to come and seed that planet with its own divine genome. The human race is made up of a 12-strand DNA that is representative of many beings and races that came to this planet to seed it and to activate humanity. It is not just the Anunnaki that was responsible for this.
The question about Nibiru and it being out there, the Anunnaki's planet, and coming back and in orbit around our sun, can we expect Nibiru soon, or is this myth and legend?
It is not myth and legend. There is an actual planetary structure that exists, but we do want you to consider that many of the projections about the way this will occur do not take vibration into consideration, because in the same way we explained timeline potentials to you, that there are multiple potentials that you can match and manifest and also mold and shape, is very similar to the outcome that you're speaking of here. And there are many factors that are involved in the outcome that you have talked about as well. It is not just an alignment of the planets that will allow this to take place. There is an intricate weaving of collective consciousness that is involved in these manifestations. It is, if you think of contract energy, there are many contracts that are made multidimensionally between humans and other races. And these contracts must play out in order to vibrationally align with the outcome that will take place. And we want to even speak to your own planet Earth. Your planet Earth has moved within its vibrational space of the universe because human beings are vibrating at a new speed. You've actually shifted the location in the universe of your planetary structure by your own directed consciousness. It is the same with this planetary energy. The way that consciousness shifts in humanity, as well as the way in which the Anunnaki continue on their timelines, has everything to do with the way that this outcome could take place.
Can the Council of Light see the future?
We are able to see into all of the potentials that exist within the timeline grid. The timeline grid is the record of not only humanity, but every other race.
Is there any cosmic event that is in our future, such as an asteroid or a solar flare or something else that will affect us as humans?
Well, there are many, and you've already been recognizing many of these events. And again, we must say that history repeats itself. So you are on a spiral continuum of historic events that are manifesting through your consciousness. These global events are not something that we would predict in a state of fear, because many are predicting them in a way that they must prepare and that there will be destruction. We do not see that your planet Earth is on the trajectory of any major destruction. We believe that much of what has been spoken about in this area or projected in this area is no longer a potential timeline for you because of a split that has taken place in consciousness. We speak much about timeline splits here on your planet between the third and the fifth dimension. And those who are existing in the fifth dimension are carrying a higher vibrational speed that is now directing your planet away from some of these more, what we would call detrimental or historic events. What typically happens when this is the case is that there's a large, perhaps catastrophic event, such as you are speaking of an asteroid hitting the Earth. That large catastrophic event being a historic timeline, because that fifth dimensional consciousness is vibrating much faster, becomes reorganized. And the strength of that timeline becomes weakened. So there can be events that take place that are smaller in nature, or we would say more localized in nature. But the spiral continuum changes based on the way humanity is operating in its physical and non-physical structure. So we cannot say that we believe there is any large detrimental type of historic event that is not already being neutralized in some way or reorganized in some way in this moment.
Is the vibrational frequency a physical state? Because there are those on this planet that are tired of waiting. When will we make this switch? And it's something that we are controlling, or is this an event that the Council of Light will initiate?
You are in complete control as humans of your physical experience. So our question to you becomes, when will you see the change and the progress that has already been made? Many of you are beating the drum of the aspects of your timeline realities that are hanging on in a more material dimension, not to your liking. And everything being vibrational, you must understand that if you maintain a physical focus, focused on the things that are manifested here that are not to your liking, you are matching those timeline vibrations. So is it physical? It is only physical after the energy has formed in a pattern that's been consistent for a very long time. So we'll give you one issue, for example, and let's take you back to disclosure, because this has been an important one that we've spoken about today. Disclosure as a process on your planet, if it is continued to look at as being something that is being held back from humanity, or there are individuals within that program that must be held responsible, there is a vibrational match to that energy. And that vibrational match forms a strong pattern, and strong patterns must manifest in physical, because that is how universal law operates here on your planet. The more that you tune into the disclosure that has already taken place, the more you appreciate the disclosure that has already taken place and you see it within your own physical reality, the more physical manifestations of disclosure will happen.
Does the Council of Light know, and could they assist us in getting off planet and visiting the stars? When will we achieve that?
You already have the capability in your non-physical technology to travel between timelines and multidimensional universe locations, and many are already doing this. The technologies that are needed in order for human beings to time travel in what they might consider a more physical manifestation already exist. But the problem with this is that there is a directive from many who exist within this middle space we've talked about between the council and your government that feel as if these technologies would not be used properly, not just for humanity, but for or in the honor of those races and dimensions that would be visited. And this is a consideration that humanity does not often take into account, that if they are traveling into other dimensional energies, that there can be detrimental effects on those races and those beings. Every time that a new being steps into a dimensional reality that does not have the same structure, an adjustment must be made. For some non-physical beings, a harmonic is changed. And until much of that is understood, these technologies will not be able to be used. And we'll back up to say that it doesn't necessarily have to be completely understood by the human consciousness, such that it has to be respected. Respected in the way that that time travel would not only be a human aspect of reality, but would affect the entire universe.
Who am I speaking with now?
You are speaking with a collective council. We are made up of multiple races, and we function in a 12-strand DNA. What this means is that we have a singular intention to oversee the grids that connect all beings and all races. Each race has lent representatives to this council. There are Pleiadians on this council. There are reptilians on this council. There are Greys. There are Nordics. There are Andromedans on this council. There are Syrians on this council. There are many more. The number is not necessarily comprehensible by human beings so much as the consciousness is a weight of 12th dimensional energy. These are beings who have ascended their consciousness. A 12th dimensional energy is a telepathic exchange between all things at the highest level. What that means is there doesn't have to be a consideration of the other because the other is considered a part of that energy. We speak as a one collective, so our thoughts are all congruent and they come together as a one energy. They may be filtered through the consciousness of this channel as a singular expression, but they come together through a one intention of all beings that are representing this council energy.
Is the Council of Light aware of me and this show and our community?
We are very aware. Yes, it is our ability as 12th dimensional collective beings to be able to vision into physical and non-physical realities. The grid lines allow us to do this. You see, we are connected to you through that grid. So this transmission that is offered through this channel is in this moment. It is in this time-space reality. So you can consider us present with you in the space that you are in.
There have been guests on this show and in our community that speak of a galactic and intergalactic war within our own solar system over our planet. Is this occurring?
We believe that there are many beings in this universe with different intentions, and those intentions often don't match a higher dimensional aspect of your record. There are wars that go on in many different dimensions. We would say the war that you might perceive as being over Earth has more to do with the way in which beings wish to support the ascension of humanity than it does claiming the energy of your planet. We find that, of course, there are beings that vibrate in a variety of different dimensions that may not be of best interest to humans that come to your Earth and are able to access them. But again, we wish to go back to your original question. And from our vantage point, the reptilian consciousness that exists on your planet is the most detrimental energy to humans in this time. Although there are different intentions throughout this universe for the way in which Earth must ascend, we do not believe there are wars going on, at least at this level of communication. As we move through dimensional time and space, there can be non-physical wars, of course, that are taking place, meaning that there are beings that are trying to claim a different segment of your human race for their own in terms of communication. And we'll give you one example of this. Let us take healthcare on your planet, for example. As you know, there have been many advancements here on your planet in response to the way human beings care for themselves. And many of the structures of your medical institutions are beginning to fail. There are many beings who have intentions to assist this process, and some of them have disagreements over the best way in which these structures should fail to support humanity and the timeline for that. And some of them believe that they should get involved in helping them fail and to bring new technologies to the surface. So these are the types of wars we perceive. These beings will often have energetic disagreements and will offer themselves as vibrational conduits for human beings who are at the forefront of these movements and come in and give directives to operate in a certain way. We don't believe that there's any physical wars that would be of great concern at this point in time in this universe in response to what's happening on your planet.
Are there any ET races out there physically inside of our solar system occupying other planets, such as Mars or our own moon or Europa, Jupiter? Is there something that we need to be aware of?
There are many physical beings that exist on these planets, yes. And in the same way that humans have accepted free will, every race has different operating structures. So there may be races that choose to manifest into physical form and may choose to manifest into non-physical form. But these beings that are in physical will often have different structures than yours. So we really want to make this clear. The physical density of humans is quite different than a physical density of a being that exists on Mars, for example. Imagine the temperature fluctuations that would take place on that planetary structure. You would have to have a different type of physical energy in order to support what was taking place there. So even though these beings exist in physical, their physical form is quite different than yours.
I want to ask you about yourself and the different races that are on the Council of Light. Do you guys have humor?
We do have humor, but the humor is quite different than what you would perceive it on this planet. We consider ourselves to be in a constant state of humor, or perhaps you would prefer the word joy or bliss or peace. The reason for that is not that we have ascended beyond suffering. It is just that we understand very well how to function as a one to support our expansion. And we often have singular communications. This is something that's often misunderstood about the 12th dimension. The 12th dimension is a telepathic exchange between a collective energy, but we, as 12th dimensional beings, have the opportunity, if we so desire, to manifest into physical form that is separate of one another and carry on conversations. So we have many options available to us in the 12th dimension. This is because we have worked through a variety of different, what we'll call information sets within our own structure, and have manifested into different forms and have the experience or the sacred geometric patterns to be able to choose our reality.
Does ET have money? How is the system based? How do you pay each other for work throughout the universe, or is Earth unique in this aspect?
Well, there is no need for a physical form of exchange in a 12th dimensional energy, and we wish to really help you in this moment to understand the definition of the physical money that exists on your planet. You see, if you look at your financial structure as a form of exchange, the base of that form of exchange is source or resource. Human beings, as they are exchanging money, believe that they are sourcing what they need through that exchange. And because you are physical beings, you have placed a definition around that sourcing of something that is also physical. So the imprint of money is actually defined by human beings as their perception of source. But in our dimension, we perceive source as different. There is no need for exchange in a collective reality because as collective beings, we are always operating in the benefit of all. So there is nothing that needs to be segmented or separated. We often speak about hierarchies that exist on your planet. And this is something that this reptilian consciousness has caused to take place within your own structure and your own perception. Hierarchies are fragmented aspects of your reality that are taking your ego and causing it to focus or project into its reality in a very narrow view. And in a 12th dimensional energy, we do not have hierarchies because all beings who exist in that energy are equal. And if all beings exist in that energy are equal, we are going to source what is needed for all beings. This is exactly where we believe human consciousness is heading. It is manifesting more into a source consciousness that is collective. And as that takes place, your definition of money or how you are manifesting financial means on your planet must change. We also believe that many of the hierarchies that exist on your planet are beginning to break down because your consciousness no longer can accept these hierarchies as they have been presented. And as these hierarchies continue to break down, your financial structure can no longer be supported in this vibration or frequency.
How can there be implemented directives if we are living free will?
Implemented directives is an interesting question, and we're not sure exactly what you mean by that, but we will give you our interpretation. Implemented directives are just suggestions. They are opportunities, because as we offer guidance or wisdom, or as we come in to support your ascension timeline, we cannot override that free will and automatically adjust anything that's going on within your frequency. All we can do is raise that frequency to give you the opportunity to choose a new reality.
I'm going to ask something very direct. Is Donald Trump influenced, or is he part reptilian?
Well, you have to understand that the president on your planet is manifested in order to allow a certain experience to take place that is equal to potentials you are matching. So this man who has manifested this presidential position was manifested by your collective consciousness. And although in the moment he may be making decisions that the human consciousness cannot understand, vibrationally beneath the surface, there are aspects of your reality that must change and fail because of these decisions. And we will take you back to the notion of hierarchies. We believe that you've manifested this president for the what we would call the beginning of breaking down many of these structures or hierarchies on your planet. And they must fail, because in order for these new timeline potentials that you've already created to manifest into physical form, the space must be created for them to appear.
Okay. I want to out of respect, I want to ask some other questions about the Council of Light directly. When we look at and question some of the political systems, leaders, and monarchies around this planet, there are rumors inside of pop culture about reptilian influence. Specifically, the Queen of England, the Queen Mother. Is there a reptilian influence throughout the monarchy in the United Kingdom?
There is, but we do want to explain this in a way that you will understand. This reptilian consciousness that we have spoken of that has come to your planet is a non-physical energy. That non-physical energy holds a DNA strand that is equal to what is held within humans. Remember, human beings were created in the likeness of all races. So your 12-strand DNA holds a relationship to all races as well. Now, each individual being at times within their linear experience will vibrate within certain strands of DNA in a more expansive way. Some are more predisposed perhaps to their Pleiadian DNA, others may be more predisposed to their reptilian DNA. So what's happened here as this non-physical reptilian consciousness has embodied your planet is that many of the humans who are more dominant in their reptilian genome have been activated in that reptilian genome. And they are the ones who are carrying out much of the activity that is keeping humanity focused in a more material or singular experience for the benefit of this reptilian consciousness to create through that structure.
We are moving forward through science and technology into an artificial intelligence question, in that we are now able to have machines think like us and act like us and make decisions, and maybe involve humor and create music in other languages. Can you give us advice on how far we should take artificial intelligence? Is it good for our future, or is it bad?
We believe that humans have misinterpreted artificial intelligence and filtered it through their more physically based perception. You see, if you consider artificial intelligence, It is truly the energy of your human structure in its organic state of telepathic exchange, because every human being has an organic state of telepathic technology that exists within them. But humans often perceive in the physical to create this technology differently than what perhaps it more easily could be assimilated. And some of this artificial technology that you speak of, we believe, is being created in a less benevolent way for the benefit of humanity. And there are potential timelines that exist in which that technology could be used to, we wish to choose the right word here, to carry out aspects of your inner technology that should not be carried out. Think back again to the example we brought forward about the pyramids, the Great Pyramids, and how the inner technology on humans was understood and used to manifest physical form. This artificial technology could manifest things in physical form for humans that are opposite of what is truly needed here on this planet. So again, we have to default to potentials. Of course, there are many potentials that exist with what's happening here, and it's difficult for us to perceive which way the vibration will go with this technology, but it is our hope for humanity that they begin to recognize that this artificial intelligence that they are creating actually exists within every human and can be activated quite easily so that it is not needed in the way that it is being created.
May I ask one more question of the Council of Light?
Yes, you may.
We have two basic thoughts on the creation of the universe. One, that it happened naturally. We call it the Big Bang, and it was just a thing that happened. Then we have the religious aspect of it, that God created our universe and everything. Which one is true?
The way in which you express the concept of the Big Bang is what we would relate to most, but we truly want to define exactly what this means. There is a creative source in this universe. That creative source, or God, is existing for the purpose of its own expansion. So as all beings are creating and planets are expanding, there will always be new expansion, new planets. In the same way that human beings create, that perhaps a male and female structure come together and activate their kundalini to create a child, the universe is constantly creating through this balance of divine masculine and feminine to expand the universe. So this creation of Mother Earth is representative of many beings and planets who have been present in this universe for many millenniums beyond where Earth was formed. And we are very pleased to know that many of us were responsible through our own experiences for this expansion.
So it was a natural occurrence, a scientific occurrence. It wasn't a divine creation.
We would call it a divine creation, an expansion of the universe. When you speak to scientific, what we perceive is that you're looking for some type of a physical definition or equation of how this happened. And we do not resonate with that, because we look at the creation of Mother Earth as a vibrational manifestation of this universe. It was on behalf of a collective consciousness made up of many races that decided they were ready to explore and experience a new race and a new planet. And so Mother Earth was born. Think of Mother Earth as a living, breathing being, not material. Was born with chakras and born with vibrational energy and mothered and cared for and seeded and nourished by many of the beings that are speaking through this transmission today. And as that process took place, expansion within your collective race began.
So who created Source? Who was first?
Source energy is a concept as the Council of Light that we must say we are constantly investigating. You see, many of many of you as humans believe that as 12th dimensional beings that we would know everything about everything in the universe. But we are continually expanding ourselves as well. And we were born of Source. So it is difficult for us to say where Source began. However, what we know is that there are multiple universes connected to Source energy. This is just one. And that Source energy exists through time and space as multiple fragments of light. So within you as a human being, Source exists. And within all things on your planet and beyond, Source exists. It is woven through time and space as a frequency, and it holds all things in equilibrium to its energy.
I want to thank the Council of Light for allowing me to ask these questions. Thank you so much.
It is our pleasure.
Oh, Micheila, are you back?
I am. I am.
Do you remember any of that? You know, that was pretty remarkable.
You know, I will oftentimes, no. I usually remember some of the questions because I will hear them. And it's a struggle for me to keep my consciousness out. So what will happen is as questions are being answered, I tend to want to come back in and hear what's going on. And I have to really effort at getting out. But I can't possibly remember all of that. And I'm often pretty surprised when I listen back to my channels.
Yeah, that was remarkable. That was a lot of fun, but just wholly interesting. And I was watching the audience, and I'm going to go back and listen to this again myself. But that was remarkable. Is the only thing I can think of right now, and I want to thank you for that. What's the best way for everybody to get in touch with you? And is it easy to get in touch with you?
It's hard for me to return messages, but it's easy to get in touch with me. MicheilaSheldan.com is my website. floweroflifecenter.org. I'm the executive director of the Flower of Life Center. And really the best place to go to see my videos, because I have tons of free material out there on YouTube, is awakenempoweredexpo.com. All of my videos are housed there, and I'm the executive director of that effort here in Detroit as well that's coming up in November.
Thank you so much, and I can't wait to get you back on the show. And what I would like to do, open invitation, but is bring you back and let's just do a night of phone calls. How does that sound?
That would be really fun.
Yeah, we just totally cheated they just got to kick back tonight and listen. But I can only imagine what a night of phone calls would be with you, and I want to thank you for that. Thank you so much for just an absolute wonderful evening and doing an amazing amount of overtime. Thank you so much, Micheila.
Oh, thank you so much for having me. It was a lot of fun.
And have a great rest of your night. Now go get some sleep. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Micheila Sheldan, everybody. Remarkable show tonight. And I've got to get out of here. I've got 10 seconds to say that Houston Astros pulled it out tonight. They defeated the Los Angeles Dodgers 7-6. It went like 11 or 12 innings. And I've just got to, I've literally got to get out of here. Blew through a network commercial. I did all of that for you guys. I'll pay the price for that tomorrow. I apologize to our sponsors and advertisers for doing that, but I did it for the spirit of the show. Micheila, absolutely remarkable. Thank you so much. Fade to Black's executive producer is Rita Kamarian. Show is produced by Hilton and J. Paul, Mark D. Kovar, LJ3, Renee, Jonas. Thank you, Dennis. Thank you, Bob. Announcers are Steve Harder, Gene Vito, Mark D. Kovar, Fady by Dale, Webmaster Drew the Geek. Music, Doug Aldrich. Intro, Spaceboy, spaceboymusic.com. Fade to Black is produced by KJCR for the Game Changer Network, and syndication is KGRA, The Planet. Thank you, Micheila Sheldan. Amazing show tonight. Her links are over at jimmychurchradio.com. This broadcast is only copyrighted 2017 by Fade to Black and the Game Changer Network. It cannot be rebroadcast, downloaded, copied, or used anywhere in the known universe without written permission from Fade to Black or the Game Changer Network. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. Follow me on Twitter at JChurchRadio. Tomorrow night, our annual Halloween special with Shah the Loon Witch. Until then, everybody be safe. Go Beckley Teppy.